Chapter 1845. Zung. Raising his eyebrows, Su Yi looked at the Duanmu Shaoman in the distance and shook the robe in his hand. His arm swept across the two of them. Su Yi's eyes were cold, and suddenly, overwhelming demonic aura flew out from his fingertips. With a wave of his hand, two even larger eight-legged spiders appeared out of thin air. A vast pressure suddenly descended, and the entire space suddenly surged with wind and clouds. The pitch-black ancient poison spider's shadow lingered. For pairs of deep, ominous eyes stared at the two paralyzed people. The two of them, who were completely soaked in the spider's poison, trembled and revealed a look of horror. What a powerful, ancient, demonic beast. Oh, whoa. Suddenly, the space cracked inch by inch, and the two huge, poisonous spiders smashed into the two of them like cannonballs. Puffed. Black blood, mist immediately filled the air. The spiders roared, and the overwhelming demonic aura enveloped the two of them with a suffocating pressure. Gee. As soon as they came into contact with the two of them, the 8 long legs of the poisonous spiders wrapped around the two of them and frantically absorbed the black, demonic aura in their bodies. Ugh! The two of them groaned at the same time. As if their vitality had been sucked out, their bodies rapidly withered, and their faces were extremely pale and dispirited. Su Yi looked at the two venomous spiders that exuded a terrifying aura and uttered the word break. He waved his hand again, and a black ray of light shot out from the horizon and directly hit the spiders. Suddenly, the poisonous spiders seemed to have their vitality cut off, and endless black demonic aura violently poured out. As the black aura dissipated, the huge demonic aura pressure also collapsed in an instant, turning into nothingness in midair. Su Yi, who was hovering in the air, raised his indifferent gaze and quickly took a step forward. The space under his feet quickly fluctuated. His figure appeared beside the two of them like a ghost, and his cold voice sounded. Just now, you have already died once. From now on, come to me every 3 months, and I will help you remove the poison from your bodies. Su Yi naturally understood that the core poison of the ancient spider poison was still lingering in their hearts. What he had just extracted was the most important poison gas. Facing the two of them, Su Yi pushed with both of his hands. A ferocious energy of the 6th-level origin Emperor realm pressed down. The two of them slowly opened their eyes when they felt the power being activated. Their eyes were filled with shock and horror. At this moment, they finally knew how powerful Su Yi was to be able to come this far. Why does he dare to challenge me again and again? Even the sacred mountain doesn't put him in his eyes. Thank you, sect leader Fei Hong. Thank you, sect leader Su Yi. Su Yi's eyes flickered, and he said solemnly, from now on, the monster-subduing gate will be renamed as the monster-subduing sect. In front of others, Scarlet Astral Leopard will be your gate master. Behind others, you will revere me and call me sect master. Remember not to expose my identity. Otherwise, I will kill you no matter where you go. Looking up at Su Yi's cold smile, the two of them broke out in cold sweat. As long as they could cure the poison in their bodies, why would they care about changing the sect's name? Kid, what are you doing? Chief Fei Hong was slightly puzzled. Although the monster-subduing gate was given to him, it was changed by Su Yi right after. He was puzzled. When they heard Su Yi's words, the two of them were even more puzzled. In the end, they nodded. Yes, sect master. Su Yi didn't directly answer Chi Fei Hong's question. After all, the Tian Yao school couldn't just announce it to others. Then, Su Yi turned around and said coldly, although you are allowed to return to the monster-subduing sect, there is one thing that you must complete even if you have to exhaust all your strength. Otherwise, you will die. Their hearts skipped a beat. Su Yi said faintly, apart from the monster-subduing sect's treasures, find me another 100 demonic emperor demonic cores and 10 demonic grandmaster demonic cores. As soon as he said that, the two of them knelt in front of Su Yi's back and said anxiously, Sect master, how can there be so many treasures in the great Demon Mountain range? Not to mention the demonic grandmaster demonic cores. If you don't have them in Yuzhou, Do you not have them in Zhongzhou? If you don't have them in Zhongzhou, go find them in other continents. The demonic emperor demonic cores must be collected within 3 months. The demonic grandmaster demonic cores must be sent back to the monster-subduing sect every 3 months. Qi Xingbao and Qi Dongju knew that this was Su Yi's lowest bargaining chip. Although they were full of hatred, they gritted their teeth and accepted it. Then, Su Yi ordered the two of them to wait for him in the arena. He also asked Qi Feihong to return to the mysterious space. After the two of them left, Su Yi suddenly leaped out. A fiery red light shot out, accompanied by a sharp light, and arrived in the forest. Master! Master! Looking around, Su Yi's heart sank when he saw the blood-red moonlight shining through the gaps in the trees. Has he left? Su Yi scratched his head and asked in a low voice, slightly disappointed. Swish! Suddenly, the forest shook and an extremely domineering cold wind blew down. It was as if a deep hole had been opened in the space. The familiar lady in the white robe came to his side, and countless tiny icicles scattered in the air. You didn't leave. Su Yi flew out. Duanmu Xiaoman crossed her arms, and her eyes were cold. The wind blew a few strands of her hair. She said, Do you want me to leave? Su Yi shook his head and said, Of course I'm happy that you can come. I even took care of that fanatical admirer of yours. Duanmu Xiaoman's eyes were cold and serene. She swung her arms gently and said, Boring. You still haven't come out after so long. Did you find something? Su Yi pondered for a while, then sighed and said, I saw Duanmu Qingtian. He could clearly feel Duanmu Xiaoman's body tremble slightly, and her delicate body took a step forward. Her bright and clear eyes flashed with excitement. She said in a delicate voice, Where did you see him? This was the first time Su Yi saw Duanmu Xiaoman so excited. If he said that the Long family was the culprit, it would undoubtedly be sending Duanmu Xiaoman to her death. The Long family's power was overwhelming. Apart from the upper echelons, there were also countless first-rate forces working for them in secret. No matter how strong the Jutian Palace was, it would be useless to save Duanmu Qingtian if both sides were injured. Moreover, Su Yi did not want Duanmu Xiaoman to be hurt in the slightest. Pausing, Su Yi handed the domain pearl in his hand to Duanmu Xiaoman. With a puzzled expression, Duanmu Xiaoman looked up and down at the domain pearl in her hand. It was completely white and flawless, like a high-quality round jade. Other than that, there was nothing special about it. I got this from inside. I saw Duanmu Qingtian from inside. It seems that he's in a space extremely far away from the sky barbarian continent. Su Yi said softly to Duanmu Xiaoman. Looking at Duanmu Xiaoman's anxious side profile, Su Yi sighed softly in his heart. He went back and forth to investigate the secrets of the domain pearl, then injected Yuan Qi into it. The domain pearl immediately flashed with an extremely misty white light. Boom! Then, the Yuan Qi was completely absorbed by the domain pearl, and the pearl lost its luster once again. Chapter 1846. Is Qingtian doing well? Did he say anything to you? Su Yi recalled the scene at the top floor of the illusory demon tower and told Duanmu Xiaoman about Qingtian's appearance. A soft sigh was heard. In Su Yi's eyes, Duanmu Xiaoman was enduring silently. It was only when it came to matters involving Duanmu Qingtian that Duanmu Xiaoman would lose her composure. She has also lost her composure several times because of you. Palace Master Jintian personally went to the mountain to look for you. I reckon you're going to be famous again. The Iron Soulfish chuckled. Duanmu Xiaoman turned around and returned the domain pearl to Su Yi. She was a little dejected. The laws of this domain pearl are far beyond my understanding. Perhaps it's just as you said, he's really on another continent. Su Yi smiled and said, Xiaoman, this illusory demon mirage is a spatial passage of the demon race. I believe that there will be a day when Senior Qingtian will meet you. These words of comfort were like a caress that calmed Duanmu Xiaoman's throbbing heart. She sized up Su Yi and said, 6th level of the Origin Emperor realm. When she came in, She had just helped Su-Yi break through to the 5th level of the Origin Emperor realm. In just a few days, Su-Yi had broken through to the 6th level of the Origin Emperor realm again. This cultivation speed was simply unimaginable. In an instant, Duanmu Xiaoman looked at Su-Yi with a different expression. Perhaps Su-Yi could really become a Grandmaster Realm expert in a short period of time. The second round is about to begin. It's better to keep a low profile. Looking at Su-Yi's slightly sinister face, Duanmu Xiaoman said arrogantly, "But you're not someone to be bullied. Remember, I'm behind you." These words caused Su-Yi's heart to skip a beat. His lips moved, and he couldn't help but blurt out, "Xiaoman, one day, I will make you my woman." Su-Yi's initiative also made the usually steady Duanmu Xiaoman tremble slightly. That day in the celestial driving divine palace, Duanmu Xiaoman had probed and forced him to become her disciple because of her pride. Hearing Su-Yi's promise with her own ears, Duanmu Xiaoman's heart was like a lake that had been quiet for 1,000 years, rippling with the spring breeze. It also allowed Duanmu Xiaoman to walk out from the haze that had just reached the sky. Her heart and soul were in turmoil. As far as Su-Yi was concerned, Duanmu Xiaoman's protectiveness from the heavenly palace to Yuzhou had long surpassed the ordinary master-disciple relationship. How could Su-Yi not understand her thoughts? Duanmu Xiaoman's nose twitched as she reorganized her thoughts and said coldly, "Then you still have a long way to go? You're not qualified to be my man right now. No matter how long the road is, I know you'll always be by my side." Su-Yi's eyes moved slightly, making the ice beauty look even more beautiful. Su-Yi's beautiful eyes were filled with evil intent and demonic aura, but with extreme mystery and charm. Duanmu Xiaoman was stunned for a moment. "Are you coming back with me to the celestial driving divine palace?" Duanmu Xiaoman asked. Su-Yi shook his head. Now that he had taken in the demon-slaying sect, he still didn't know much about the demon-slaying sect and the Long family. He decided to go back to the demon-slaying sect to rest for 3 days. "All right, be careful." Duanmu Xiaoman's face was ice-cold. Only Su-Yi knew that under that ice-cold face, there was a fire of passion for him. The two of them left the great demon mountain range together. When they were at the beast's mouth, Duanmu Xiaoman cut open a crack in space and left. Facing Su-Yi, Duanmu Xiaoman's alluring body was like a fairy descending to the mortal world. She said again, "Be careful." Su-Yi sighed softly. He was extremely envious of the ability to manipulate space. Was it the strength of someone above the Origin Ancestor realm? He didn't have much strength left in the 6th level of the Origin Emperor realm. Once he reached the Origin Ancestor realm, he would have to go to the Old Dragon. Narrowing his eyes, the essence beneath his feet rose, turning into a ball of fire and flying out of the beast's mouth. When Su-Yi was completely out of the beast's mouth, creak, the beast's mouth burst open, and the demonic aura turned into a rain of light that scattered into the sky. Su-Yi, who flew out from the beast's mouth, was like a son of God, with an imposing aura. When he walked out of the beast's mouth, it was already nighttime, and the sky was filled with stars. The entire demon-subduing sect was brightly lit. The arena, which was bustling with noise and excitement during the day, had already dispersed. Sect Master Qi Xingbao and Qi Dongjue, who had been waiting in the arena for a long time, limped over to welcome him. Their eyes were filled with friendly smiles. Their sword-like eyebrows were slightly slanted, and their image as top-notch experts had completely collapsed. Lackeys were the first words that flashed in Su-Yi's mind. With a cold laugh, Su-Yi said softly, "Lead the way." Glancing over, Su-Yi's heart suddenly felt an incomparably strong pressure controlling it. In his mind, the golden dragon's image was moving back and forth. The heaven origin demon soul was emitting a faint halo, and his mind was bright. People from the Long clan? Su-Yi raised the corner of his mouth. Ignoring the two's doubts, the aura around his body surged. He quickly locked onto an extremely far distance away. A thick murderous aura and oppressive aura was continuously crushing towards Su-Yi. It was obvious that this oppressive aura was specifically targeting him. Su Yi's deep eyes flashed, and the terrifying aura around him exploded. The muscles at the corner of his eyes twitched, and he quickly saw the person's appearance clearly. Long Tsang. Su Yi sneered in his heart. He didn't look for the Long clan, but the Long clan was the first to target him. The two of them looked at each other from afar, and it was as if this was the first time they had fought. Su Yi's soul spirit surged and shot out from his forehead. In the air, the black void space rippled continuously. The faint ripples shook, and the figure in the distance seemed to have solidified. Following Su Yi's gaze, Qi Dongjue and the rest had also noticed where Su Yi was looking at. It was where the Long clan was. Instantly, a trace of shock flashed across their eyes. Could it be that Su Yi has a grudge with the Long clan as well? Qi Xingbao gulped. Beside him was an evil spirit, and over there was a fierce god. Neither of them could be offended. Whoosh! A deep sonic boom rang out, and the supreme golden dragon's domineering aura flashed across the air. Under the influence of the energy of heaven and earth, Long Tsang's figure quickly disappeared without a trace. Huff! Looking up, Su Yi's heaven origin demon soul felt a little pain. Su Yi was very clear that Long Tsang's strength was definitely above everyone participating in the Tianfeng ranking tournament. Su Yi couldn't guess the strength of this person's aura, but it was definitely an extremely powerful level. However, he wasn't too worried. With his strength, if he fought with an origin ancestor and went all out, he would definitely be able to survive. The Long clan has inherited the divine beast for 10,000 years. To be able to develop to such an extent is already something to be proud of. Su Yi slowly retracted his gaze and said to the two from the demon-subduing sect, where Tyrant Si Santong and Yuchi Changfeng. At the mention of the Heavenly Dragon sect and the Sacred Mountain, the demon-subduing sect seemed to have thought of something. At this moment, they were extremely certain that Shangguan Xinjua had been injured by Su Yi. Chapter 1847. Qi Dongjue took a step forward cautiously and said with a bowed voice, Yuchi Changfeng seems to be injured and is going back to recuperate. Tyrant Ocean Sanong has obtained quite a number of demonic cores this time, and is most likely refining them to prepare for the next round. Su Yi pondered for a moment. Looking at the sparse stars in the sky and the bright lights, he said, Bring me back to the sect. Bring everyone from the Bawang sect over. Remember, don't tell anyone that I'm in the demon-subduing sect. Su Yi's meaning could not be clearer. He did not want to reveal that he was the sect leader of the demon-subduing sect, nor did he want to reveal the fact that he had already come out. The scarlet astral leopard was all smiles. Yes, sect leader. This way, please. In less than half a day, the dark path twisted here and there, and the terrain of the demon-subduing sect rose and fell. Finally, they arrived at a majestic palace. I'm finally back. An extremely emotional voice echoed in Qi Feihong's mind. Looking at the demonic beast palace hidden between the mountains, Su Yi felt as though he could smell an ancient aura that transcended the heavens and earth. Violent beasts lay dormant between the heavens and earth, waiting to strike. The lights in the distance shone brightly, like the eyes of a beast looking down on the world. Good spirit. Su Yi's lips curled into a smile, extremely satisfied. Among the top forces, the demon-subduing sect was one of the weaker ones. However, the demon-subduing sect was still a colossus like the Sage Mountain. They were huge in size and had a deep foundation. Subduing the demon-subduing sect was definitely the highlight of the Bawang sect's conquest of the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean. Following Qi Dongjue and the rest into the demon-subduing sect's sect leader's pavilion, Qi Dongjue and the Scarlet Astral Leopard introduced the place to Su Yi like servants. They came to a large hall, where demonic beasts were engraved, domineering and majestic. The ancient demonic beasts' ferocious auras were carved into the walls, making them look extremely extraordinary. The black jade walls were of excellent quality. After staring at them for a long time, one's breathing would quicken and one's soul would tremble. Qi Dongjue, who was standing respectfully at the side, hesitated, as though he had something to say. Elder Dongju, speak your mind. Su Yi sat upright on the wide chair, his hand on the handle of the bronze beast, exuding the aura of a superior. Shivering, Qi Dongjue cupped his fists and said, Sovereign, I heard that after Shangwan Shinjue came out, his meridians were crippled, and the beast poison entered his body. Shangwan Juehu has also announced that the Divine Tiger Gate will come looking for Sovereign. We won't rest until we're dead. Su Yi naturally understood Qi Dongjue's words. Su Yi was now the sect head of the demon subduing sect. If Shangwan Juehu were to find out that the demon-slaying sect was deeply connected to Su Yi, the demon-slaying sect would definitely be annihilated. Narrowing his eyes, Su Yi laughed coldly and said in a low voice, A piece of trash who only knows how to scheme. If he dies, then so be it. Is the demon-slaying sect afraid of the Divine Tiger sect? Taking over the conversation, the Scarlet Stellar Leopard signaled Qi Dongjue with his eyes and chuckled, Sovereign is mighty. Why would we be afraid of the Divine Tiger sect? However, the second round is just around the corner. I hope Sovereign will be careful. The Divine Tiger sect is extremely powerful. This subordinate is only worried about your safety. Understood. Su Yi's deep eyes flashed with killing intent. Since Shangwan Juehu wanted to kill him, he might as well make the first move. Su Yi rubbed his chin, and a monstrous chill spread out. All right, do my points still count? Su Yi's eyes twitched. Regarding the matter of points, the two of them prostrated themselves on the ground, trembling uncontrollably. As the chill spread out, the Scarlet Stellar Leopard and Qi Dongjue gulped. Large beads of sweat rolled down their faces as they said, Of course, of course. The points obtained from killing Shangwan Shinjue are 2,150. The sect leader should be ranked second. According to the rules of the Heavenly Wind Ranking Tournament, the top 800 from the first round would enter the 8 Revered Saints board. After the tournament, the 8 Revered Saints board would be distributed to every sect in every continent. Being in the top 800 meant that they were recognized by the most powerful ancient families in the continent. With the support of their families, the 8 Revered Saints board members would be treated with respect and treated as VIPs, and would be given all kinds of resources. As soon as he finished speaking, the Scarlet Stellar Leopard took out an exquisite scroll and handed it to Su Yi, saying softly, This is the latest 8 Revered Saints board. Sovereign, please take a look. Su Yi raised his eyebrows and quickly opened the scroll. Immediately, a golden light spread out, and a gentle yet powerful light rose from both sides of the scroll. Squinting his eyes, Su Yi read the names on the list one by one. First place, Sky Dragon Sect, Tyrant C. Santong, 2,500 points. Second place, Boang Sect, Su Yi, 2,150 points. Second place, Holy Mountain, Yuchi Chongfeng, 2,100 points. Fourth place, Limitless Sect, Mu Rinjia, 1,970 points. Fifth place, Holy Mountain, Snow Red House, 1,920 points. Sixth place, Imperial Palace, Jun Hao Yen, 1,880 points. Seventh place, Demon Subduing Sect, Qi Jiuzhen, 1,830 points. Eighth place, Divine Tiger Sect, Shangwan Shinjue, 1,600 points. Ninth place, Rainsong Palace, Lin Feiqian, 1,440 points. 10th place, Immeasurable Sect, Han Euro, 1,210 points. As for Bai Ling, who Su Yi was concerned about, as well as the people from Shunjian Gate, Lu Yinfeng, Mu Yao, and the others, they had all successfully entered the 8 Revered Saints board. Su Yi nodded his head in satisfaction. However, Su Yi also saw an eye-catching name on the 8 Revered Saints board. Yin Lingfeng. That brat actually made it in. Let's hope he doesn't meet me in the second round. Su Yi's eyes flashed coldly. Thinking back to the top 10 list, the Immortal Sword Sect and Gemini Sect's In Jiansheng and Hunao were both killed by Su Yi. Their rankings were extremely low, even lower than Bai Ling, who was in the top 200. As for the Demon Subduing Sect, other than Qi Jiuzhen, their rankings were also quite good. Su Yi had basically fulfilled his agreement with the Taixing sect. In the second round, he had to prepare well. Sui, get out here right now. While he was deep in thought, a sharp reprimand broke the temporary peace. Then, a scarlet claw print appeared in the air. Qi Xingbao and Qi Dongjue hurriedly stood up, their eyes flashing with shock. In an instant, a figure flashed in like a ghost. It was Qi Jiuzhen who had been killed by Sui. His face was pale and his hands were trembling, as if he had just woken up from a sick bed. I'm going to take your life. Sui raised his chin and looked coldly at Qi Jiuzhen. Qi Dongjue stepped on the ground and grabbed Qi Jiuzhen's wrist. How dare you? Jiuzhen, what are you doing? Qi Dongjue's old eyes widened in anger. Qi Jiuzhen's chest heaved up and down violently. His eyes were filled with confusion and grievance. He bit his lips and said coldly, Elder Dongjue, Sui killed senior brother Nangong and stole my sect treasure chest. He even threw me out of the mountain range. His methods are vicious. Why are you still protecting him? Hearing this, the scarlet astral leopard also became anxious. He circulated his origin chi, and with a boom, the teacup beside him was blasted into powder, which scattered all over the sky. Pa! Xiao Qian's figure flashed before Qi Jiuzhen, and a crisp slap landed on his face as he shouted. This is the new sect leader of the demon subduing sect. You can't be rude. Chapter 1848. What? Qi Jiuzhen's eyes flickered as he unconsciously took 2 steps back. He then looked at Sui with a cold expression. Qi Jiuzhen didn't care about his injuries and roared. Are you all crazy? Why would the demon-subduing sect let a piece of trash be the sect master? Qi Jiuzhen's sexy face was filled with disbelief as he spoke to Qi Dongjue. Elder Dongjue, tell Zhen that this isn't true. This isn't true. Qi Dongjue looked awkwardly at Sui behind him. The hatred between his brows was instantly replaced by determination. Sui, you should be the sect master. Don't make a fuss. The scarlet astral leopard shook Qi Jiuzhen's shoulder and whispered, Jiuzhen, calm down. Qi Jiuzhen was like a rakshasa. His cold face became extremely haggard and pale. He shook his head slightly and said sadly, How can I calm down? Have you all forgotten how senior brother Nangong died? Also, how did Hu Gao and Elder Prison Wolf die? Qi Jiuzhen's eyes were bloodshot as he gritted his teeth. Blood trickled down from the corner of his mouth. Qi Jiuzhen, who was being held by the scarlet astral leopard, stared at Sui with a malicious gaze. Sectmaster, my daughter was a little rash. Please forgive her. The scarlet astral leopard was sweating profusely as he pulled Qi Jiuzhen back. He was afraid that Sui would really kill Qi Jiuzhen in a fit of anger. Patting the dust off his shoulders, Sui walked down the stairs with his hands behind his back, a faint smile on his face. Seeing how his enemy hated him to the bone and wanted to kill him, he felt a sense of pleasure. Nangong Heng, it seems like you have deep feelings for him. His words were filled with disdain. Qi Jiuzhen's eyes were so bloodshot that it seemed like his eyeballs were going to pop out. He roared, You don't deserve to mention his name. I'll kill you. Sui pursed his lips, crossed his arms, and paced back and forth. Circling around Qi Jiuzhen, he whispered, To think that you look smart, but it turns out that you're a complete idiot. Those words calmed Qi Jiuzhen down. His eyes were cold as he listened to Sui. Nangong Heng, whom you sent, went to 9 Stars Valley and became the city lord of 9 Star City. After so many years, has he ever thought of coming back? As for Nangong Heng, Sui had analyzed him before. This person was obsessed with power, and his tolerance was extraordinary. He was truly a talent, but at the same time, he had fallen too deeply into the dark side. Emotional ties and sect friendships meant nothing to him. If Nangong Heng had truly done his best for the demon-subduing sect, the experts of the demon-subduing sect wouldn't have personally come to look for the treasure chest during the Black Fog Conference. Looking at the scarlet astral leopard and Qi Dongjue, Sui said, Hu Gao and Hell Wolf aren't just here to look for treasure chests. They're also here to clean up the mess. Following his gaze, Qi Jiuzhen's eyes were misty with tears. He looked at the scarlet astral leopard with a trembling voice. Father, is that so? Tell me, Big Brother Nangong isn't that kind of person. Sa. The scarlet astral leopard immediately let go of Qi Jiuzhen's hand. He didn't say anything for a long time, indicating that he agreed. The weak Qi Jiuzhen staggered as he sat on the chair in a daze. He held his head with both hands and muttered, No. Later on, we did find out that Nangong Heng was supporting 9 Stars Valley. He wanted to use the demon-subduing sect to establish a new sect. Qi Dongjue frowned and said in a deep voice, The Chaos region was filled with experts. The rules were complicated, and there were countless unexplored regions. Demonic beasts ran rampant, and danger lurked everywhere. The 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea had an unwritten rule that no one was to investigate the Chaos region. Whoever touched the Chaos region would be breaking the rule. He broke the rule. The demon-subduing sect can't be implicated by such a disloyal person, Qi Dongjue said fiercely. Nangong Heng was once his most beloved disciple. He was also the genius disciple who was engaged to Qi Jiuzhen since young. Qi Jiuzhen wasn't the only one who felt heartache when he made the decision to kill Heng. Qi Dongjue couldn't bear it either. I even brought him into the demon illusion cave to train. In the end, it was all for naught. Ingrates can't be left alive. Shana, Qi Dongjue sighed and patted Qi Jiuzhen's shoulder with his withered hand. Sui looked at the two coldly. His impression of them changed instantly. They made the right decision in this matter. However, Sui still looked down on the Long family. Nangong Heng must have obtained something from the demon race's cave. That was why he fell into the demon Dao. Sui thought. No wonder he felt a sense of familiarity when he fought with him. The Scarlet Astral Leopard and Qi Dongjue told Sui about the sect master's cultivation technique. Qi Jiuzhen nodded solemnly, tacitly acknowledging Sui's position as sect master. But you wanted to call you sect master? No way. Why don't you just kill me? Sui's deep eyes flickered slightly. His figure flashed and went past the two to face Qi Jiuzhen. Isn't it easy for you to die? Sui's mouth twitched as he emitted a cold intent. The majestic and ferocious wind blew Qi Jiuzhen's cold and fiery face out of shape. A trace of shock flashed across his eyes. 6th level of the Origin Emperor Realm, Qi Jiuzhen said softly. Before he could recover, Sui slapped him heavily just as he was about to block. With a push of his palm, Sui slapped Qi Jiuzhen's head with a powerful and ferocious Origin Qi. Qi Jiuzhen immediately felt an overwhelming pressure coming down from his head. His splitting headache calmed down. Sectmaster, no. The Scarlet Astral Leopard's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. His scalp went numb as he tried to stop Sui. As a father, his daughter was being held hostage. His anger immediately overshadowed his fear as he twisted his body. Qi Dongjue pulled the Scarlet Astral Leopard to the side and whispered something to him. Both of them frowned. After a long while, Sui withdrew his handprint. The two of them hurriedly inquired, Jenner, how are you? Qi Jiuzhen looked at his hands and stood up in disbelief. He stretched his limbs. He looked at the Scarlet Astral Leopard in astonishment and said, My injuries are healed. What? Boundless shock surged like raging waves. Qi Dongjue immediately grabbed Qi Jiuzhen's meridians and closed his eyes to check. Then, a surprised and gratified smile appeared on his withered face. It is indeed healed. My meridians have already recovered. The Scarlet Astral Leopard was pleasantly surprised when he heard the results of the Grand Elder's examination. Qi Jiuzhen was in the top 10 of the 8 revered reverends list, which was the best result since the establishment of the demon-slaying sect. However, because of Sui's heavy injuries, the damage to his meridians was so severe that it would take at least a year to recover. Who would have thought that the damage to his meridians would be healed in just a short 15 minutes? How could such a miracle not surprise the two of them? The demon-slaying sect had once again returned to the ranks of the Heavenly Wind ranking station. Sui stretched and said to Qi Jiuzhen, who was still in a daze, Save you? Don't think too much. Since you are a member of the demon-slaying sect, I naturally won't let you miss the opportunity of heavenly wind. Open your eyes wider in the future and don't do anything stupid. In the end, Sue E added in a low voice, especially if you provoke me. Chapter 1849. Chi Dongjue's cold words smashed into everyone's hearts like a hammer. Only when Chi Dongjue reminded them did they regain their senses. Hurry up and thank the sect leader. The scarlet astral leopard's eyelids twitched as well, indicating for Chi Jiuzhen to change his attitude. Chi Jiuzhen was like a frightened little bird. His pale and slightly ruddy little face suddenly trembled, and he stretched his neck forward. Wiping away the tears that had yet to dry, he said, thank you, sect leader." Su Yi's gaze softened slightly, but his face was still serious. In front of these three experts who were older than him, he did not seem to be at a disadvantage. The maturity and restraint hidden in his dark eyes made Su Yi's aura extraordinary. Su Yi's face was cold as he said, "The demon-subduing sect should have plenty of top-grade healing pills. Go back and recuperate. You should be able to participate in the second round 3 days later." The scarlet astral leopard in Chi Dongjue's eyes flashed with joy as they stepped forward and said, "Sect leader's methods are indeed extraordinary. With such a divine technique, no wonder you can improve by leaps and bounds. Yes, this is the fortune of our demon-subduing sect. Sect leader is amazing." Xingbao is impressed. Su Yi waved his hand, indicating that there was no need for flattery. He said coldly, "From today onwards, everything in the demon-subduing sect will be under my supervision. When I'm not around, I will send someone to guard this place. You can ask him about anything big or small." The scarlet astral leopard nodded heavily and promised to follow Su Yi's instructions with Chi Dongjue. After that, Su Yi let out a long sigh. He had just used the Origin Supreme technique to open up Chi Jiuzhen's meridians, and it took a lot of energy. "Let me ask you, why are the 5 aristocratic families participating this time? Why is the location set at the demon-subduing sect?" The scarlet astral leopard was speechless. Chi Dongjue's face twitched, and his wrinkles were filled with resentment. Organizing the Tianfeng ranking competition is really too taxing for the demon-subduing sect. And this time, we've used too many demonic cores. I really can't bear it. Then why do you still want to hold it?" Su Yi asked curiously. Chi Dongjue's nose twitched as he looked around and said, "It's said that the 10 Jade Pavilion that appears once in 60 years has appeared in Yuzhou. This was a joint decision made by the 5 great clans." Su Yi was a little confused. Wasn't the 10 Jade Pavilions fixed in one place? Chi Dongjue said, "The 10 Jade Pavilion appears once every 60 years. Its location is not fixed, and the time it appears is different every time. Therefore, it has never been controlled by the aristocratic families. On the other hand, the aristocratic families had only organized the Heavenly Wind ranking competition because of the appearance of the 10 Jade building." These words were definitely beyond Su Yi's understanding. In the mysterious space, Chi Feihong said in a low voice, "That's true. For so many years, no one has been able to track down where the 10 Jade building is. From the looks of it, the Long clan must have discovered some secret about the Sky Wind Martial Pavilion or the 10 Jade Pavilion for all the aristocratic families to participate. It was very likely to be related to the Duanmu Qing Tian. Did the Long family talk to you before?" Su Yi asked again. At the mention of the Long family, the scarlet astral leopard subconsciously trembled. Chi Dongjue sighed. "The Long family asked us to enter the demonic illusion cave to check. They knew that there was a demonic illusion mirage building in the demonic illusion cave. Draconis asked us to check if the 10 Jade Pavilion was inside, but the treasure chest was in the sect master's hands. We couldn't do anything about it." The scarlet astral leopard hesitated for a moment before gritting his teeth and asking about Su Yi's situation in the demonic illusion mirage. Su Yi didn't hesitate and said in a low voice, "No, it's empty. There's only what big brother Chi Feihong left behind." Su Yi didn't hide this situation, but from the two of them, he found out that the Long clan's concern was in the 10 Jade Pavilion. On the other hand, the Long clan was also searching for the 10 Jade Pavilion. Duanmu Qingtian's disappearance had nothing to do with the Long clan. Then how did Duanmu Qingtian leave the barbarian demon forest spatial restriction? Sui fell into deep thought for a long time. The two of them waited respectfully at the side. However, they noticed that Qi Jiuzhen wanted to say something but stopped. His face was flushed red. "Jenner, why are you still here?" Qi Jiuzhen picked up the phone and said, "Father, Elder Dongju, I'm actually here to report about Shangguan Shenjua." Hearing Shangguan Shenjua's name, Su-yi quickly raised his head and met Qi Jiuzhen's eyes. His cold and deep gaze landed on Qi Jiuzhen. The originally arrogant Qi Jiuzhen quickly lowered his face and hesitated. The Shangguan clan sent someone to ask about the Great Demon Mountain Range. "Did you find Su-yi's body? If he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. You must hand it over today." The two of them had been suppressed by the Long clan, so they had a lot of resentment in their hearts. The Scarlet Astral Leopard took advantage of this opportunity to express his anger. "Bullshit. Does Shangguan Juehu think he's an aristocratic family? What would he do if I don't hand it over?" The Scarlet Astral Leopard's saliva flew everywhere as he spoke. The general idea was that they were in the demon-subduing sex territory. Su-yi waved his hand, indicating for Qi Jiuzhen to continue. Qi Jiuzhen took a look at Su-yi and continued. "According to the report, the Shangguan clan has sent the healing experts and elixir masters of the Divine Tiger sect to come here overnight. They are also looking for famous doctors in Yuzhou. They hope they can make it in time to attend the competition within 3 days." Su-yi snorted. Qi Jiuzhen's lips curled into a smile as he said, "However, they have tried everything. It said that Shangguan Shenjua has a very strong poison in his body that they can't get rid of." The Scarlet Astral Leopard and Qi Dongjue slapped their thighs and burst into laughter. "Ha ha! Heaven will punish those who are despicable. How dare he attack our sect master? It's best if he dies with his intestines pierced through." The pain of the beast poison was still vivid in their minds. They had personally experienced it. Thinking about it now made their hair stand on end. Even Yuan Zone and Yuan Domain experts couldn't force the beast poison out of their bodies, let alone Shangguan Tianjua. This time, the Divine Tiger sect had suffered a great loss. Su-yi's mood instantly sank when he heard the three's laughter. He recalled Shangguan Shenjua's evil deeds in the illusory demon cave. Qi Jiuzhen smirked as he looked at Qi Dongjue and Su-yi. "What's wrong with you?" Then, "Sect Master, he asked us if we have the antidote for the beast poison. Should I reply to him?" The Scarlet Astral Leopard and Qi Dongjue looked at Su-yi. After pondering for a while, Su-yi waved his hand. A great man must be ruthless. Even if he didn't kill Shangguan Shenjua, Shangguan Juehu would still tear him into pieces. He might as well go all the way. "Go. Tell them that you know of a highly skilled poison master in Yuzhou. Whether they can invite him or not will depend on their luck." Qi Jiuzhen responded and flew out with Qi Dongjue's silent consent. "Sect Master, do you have a plan?" When Qi Dongjue looked at Su-yi again, he couldn't see through this young man who wasn't even 20 years old. They said that he was cunning but had outstanding strength. They said that he was daring but meticulous. Su-yi said in a deep voice, his wide green robe fluttering in the wind. "Remember not to leak a single word about me and the demon-subduing sect. Just do what you're supposed to do." As he walked towards the inner room, Su-yi turned his head back. His bright and deep eyes were filled with a trace of cold, killing intent. The demon-subduing sect will definitely rise to the top in the future. The Scarlet Astral Leopard and Qi Dongjue were stunned, and their mouths were wide open. Such arrogant words sounded so realistic to them. They believed it. If it was someone else, it might be impossible. But if it was this mysterious young man in front of them, it was absolutely possible. Chapter 1850. Under Qi Dongjue's lead, Su-yi arrived at the demon-subduing sect's secret cultivation chamber. This secret cultivation chamber was a secret place that only the demon-subduing sect master could enter. Ooh. After the two of them left, the spirit-like Qi Fei Hong stroked the huge, iron demonic beast on the wall with Su Yi's help. We're back again. Qi Fei Hong's eyes turned misty. Su Yi looked at Qi Fei Hong's back. Speaking of which, it had been a long time since he'd returned to the Bawang sect. He wondered how the Bawang sect was doing now. How far had Ning Yu and Elder Huang Jian developed the Bawang sect? A plan slowly formed in his heart. If he could obtain first place in the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament, the Bawang sect strength would reach a terrifying peak again. After merging with the demon-subduing sect, Su Yi believed that it would only take a few seconds for them to flatten the holy mountain. Inside the secret cultivation chamber, demonic qi filled the air, and the heaven and earth energy was extremely dense. Closing his eyes, he sat down cross-legged and formed a series of hand seals, allowing the heaven and earth energy to flow into his body through his pores. In just a short while, the origin qi he'd used to treat Qi Jiuzhen's injuries was fully recovered. Slowly standing up, Qi Fei Hong's eyes flickered when he heard the sounds of his bones cracking. "Little brother, I still have to thank you." Qi Fei Hong's eyes were filled with gratitude. Su Yi naturally knew that he was referring to the fact that he didn't kill Qi Jiuzhen. Su Yi waved his hand. "The demon-subduing sect is mine since you've given it to me. There's no reason for you to lose a talent." With a single glance, Su Yi could tell that Qi Jiuzhen was the kind of person who cared deeply for others. After spending so much time with demonic beasts, it was inevitable that he would be tainted with a cold and fierce personality. But compared to Nangong Heng, he was still much better. Then, Su Yi carefully counted the foundation that he took out from the illusory demonic mirage. They were the remaining 32 demonic ethereal stage demonic cores from the Phantom Leopard, 12 demonic ancestor stage demonic cores, 1 armor artifact, 2 high-tier earth-grade medicinal pills, 2 saint-grade double hooks for vitality stone boxes, and 1 low-tier heaven-grade medicinal pill. Su Yi rubbed his chin and squinted his eyes, sizing up the treasures in front of him. "Brother, what are you doing?" Qi Fei Hong had a bad premonition. His gaze quickly moved away from the treasures in front of him, but he still couldn't hide the pain between his brows. Su Yi rubbed his nose and put some of them into his interspatial bag before putting the rest in his interspatial bag. "With the protection of my cultivation technique, I'll be fine for a while. You stay here. I'll be back soon." With a whoosh, the vitality stone in the secret cultivation ground flickered and dimmed. Su Yi's figure disappeared in the air like a ghost. Qi Fei Hong's eyes flashed, and a touch of anger rose in an instant. He gritted his teeth in the secret cultivation room. He most likely used this old man's treasures to pick up girls. Damn it! Damn it! Demon-subduing sect where the sacred mountain was located. In a house filled with onji orchids and the fragrance of willows, the house was filled with the unique scent of a young girl. The weak light of the vitality stone was embedded on the cold iron wall. Under the flickering light, a faint figure sat upright. A small and exquisite nose glowed with a unique luster under the light, and a pair of clear moon-like eyes were slightly absent-minded. At this time, it was already nighttime. Most of the martial artists were either resting or cultivating. On the other hand, Lu Ruashi had already changed into her undergarments. Her towering curves were perfect, and her waist was slightly tightened to accentuate her slim waist. The entire small hall was filled with extreme temptation and a unique young girl's feelings. Lu Ruashi's right hand rested on her cheek. Her cherry lips opened and closed slightly, as if she had something to say. After a long time, she only let out a long sigh. If only Senior Sisterly Ling was here. Why can't my heart be calm anymore? Lu Ruashi's delicate and beautiful face was filled with disappointment under the light. Dong dong. A very soft knock on the door broke her contemplation. Lu Ruashi returned to her senses and stood up. Lu Ruashi frowned, and a chill surged into her mind. The vitality in her hand rose sharply, and a majestic sage king aura cut through the air. It brazenly followed her fingertips and pointed to the door. "Who is it?" Lu Ruashi shouted. The door trembled and the aura fluctuated. Lu Ruashi did not expect such a violent reaction. A timid voice came from outside the room. Ninth Holy Maiden, a young master wants to see you. You must meet him tonight." Lu Ruashi felt that she had lost her composure. After muttering to herself for a while, the vitality in her hand trembled, and the fiery red dress that hung on her slender arm flew quickly. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ruashi became valiant and beautiful again. Her hair was tangled, and Lu Ruashi was slightly angry. "Which young master? Which sect are you from?" After 2 or 3 breaths, the maid outside the door said softly, "I'm from the demon subduing sect. I'm here to pass on a message from a young master. He said that he must meet the 9th Holy Maiden tonight. Otherwise what?" Lu Ruashi's eyes rippled as she said sternly. As if she had gathered a huge amount of courage, the maid said softly, "Otherwise he will definitely flatten the sacred mountain. He will first kill the great saint, and then the Xiahong house." Lu Ruashi's serious expression immediately turned into a smile. Apart from Su Yi, who else could have said such arrogant words? Lu Ruashi's flustered heart calmed down in an instant. His brows also eased a lot, and he spoke softly to the door. "Okay, I got it. What did he say he was?" The maid outside the door said in a deep voice, "The young master said that he will wait for you at the place where you queued up earlier." Lu Ruashi nodded and immediately checked the ancient bronze mirror on the table. She raised her eyebrows and her eyes flickered. She quickly pushed open the door and rushed into the distance. The moonlight was so bright that it seemed to cover the forest with a faint layer of clouds. The forest rolled over and over like a creeping giant beast guarding a 1,000-year-old sect. It was an intimidating sight. Mottled moonlight spilled on the ground through the tree branches, reflecting a green figure in the forest. Her lustrous eyes swept back and forth in the forest, not wanting to miss a single moment of this night. Boom! In the silent darkness, a ball of fire flickered and danced in the air like a spirit of the night. The fiery figure landed lightly on the ground. Su Yi threw away the weed in his mouth and nimbly flipped to the ground. "You're here?" Su Yi gently patted Lu Ruashi's left back and quickly flashed to her right. Lu Ruashi looked slightly angry, but she could not hide the joy in her eyes. She smiled faintly when she heard Su Yi's voice. The night wind gently brushed past Lu Ruashi's smooth forehead like a gentle hand. Her beautiful hair fluttered in the wind, and it looked very beautiful under the moonlight. "This is for you." Su Yi quickly shook his head and pulled himself away from the beautiful scene. Lu Ruashi opened the interspatial bag. Her eyes were immediately filled with shock, and she looked beautiful. Chapter 1851. Lu Ruashi was stunned when she opened the spatial bag. She didn't expect Su Yi to give her nearly half of the treasures in the illusory, demonic mirage. Scratching his head, Su Yi faced the moonlight. Under the white moonlight, Lu Ruashi could see Su Yi's broad back when she looked up. "The second round is around the corner. You should be able to use these things." Inside the spatial bag were 2 high-tier Earth-grade elixir pills for Demon Ancestor Realm beast cores, armor treasures, 2 hooks, and 2 primeval stone boxes. Holding the spatial bag, Lu Ruashi smiled and whispered, "You risked your life to get these things, and you're giving them all to me in the end?" Su Yi turned around. His eyes sparkled in the darkness, and his words pierced Lu Ruashi's heart. "Compared to your life, risking your life to accompany me, these things are nothing." Lu Ruashi's cheeks flushed red as she spat lightly and said in a low voice, "I'm sure that your master was also attracted by your glib tongue like this. You really know how to make a girl happy." After saying that, Lu Ruashi turned around and walked to the stone steps. She kicked a piece of rock down the mountain. She looked around as if she had something on her mind. "Your master is beautiful, but I know she treats you sincerely. I've known you since I was young, but I still took such a big detour. In comparison, I'm afraid I can't compare to her." Lu Ruashi rubbed the corner of her clothes with a trace of undetectable sadness. You are you. Master has her good points, and I also owe you a favor. Su-yi smiled. Lu Ruashi's gaze was a little unnatural. She whispered, You're greedy. We won't see each other in the future anyway. If it's someone else, I might feel sad. But if it's a celestial beauty, I'm relieved. While she was thinking, Lu Ruashi's back seemed to be pressed tightly against a hard piece of flesh. A pair of strong hands hugged her from behind. What are you doing? Lu Ruashi's breathing was heavy. The night sky shone on Lu Ruashi's blushing face, making her look like a flower in spring. It was exceptionally beautiful. Chila. Su-yi held Lu Ruashi's small hands tightly and placed them on his lower abdomen at the same time. An extremely gentle and majestic energy entered his body through his pores. Don't talk, Su-yi said in a deep voice. Lu Ruashi immediately let out a soft moan as her coquettish expression gradually softened. She closed her eyes and listened to the chirping of cicadas, insects, and birds as well as the rise and fall of demonic beasts. As time passed, the two of them seemed to have come to a standstill. Su-yi rested his head on Lu Ruashi's shoulder, and the delicate fragrance of a young girl wafted into his nostrils. Her soft and smooth black hair was like silk, suffused with a luster. Gradually, he relaxed his mind and enjoyed this moment of gentleness. That's right. You've already refined all the energy in the spirit liquid, and your injuries are no longer a problem. With his eyes closed, Su-yi's gentle words caressed Lu Ruashi's ears. Lu Ruashi took a deep breath, and her eyebrows relaxed. She was also unsettled by this wonderful flirtatious atmosphere and was panting slightly. Yes, the Lord healed me after we returned, Lu Ruashi said softly. Then, Su-yi's eyes suddenly opened like lightning. The corners of his mouth curled up as he said, This old woman has done a good deed. Lu Ruashi's voice sounded like she was talking in her sleep. The Lord is my distant grandmother, so please don't say that in the future. Su-yi was slightly surprised, but he still nodded. Lu Ruashi said, Oh yes, when the Lord healed me, she also asked me about this strange energy in my body. What did you say? Su-yi smiled. There was no gap between the two of them, but Lu Ruashi had already gotten used to such tenderness. Lu Ruashi became anxious and smiled shyly. Of course, I won't say it's because of you. Su-yi was still smiling, but his heart skipped a beat. Could it be that the Lord had already discovered the reason for this energy? He was the only one who could interact with Lu Ruashi. What would the Lord think? The Lord has actually stopped caring about the sacred mountain for a long time. For so many years, I only knew how to cultivate in seclusion on the 9th Saint Peak. The sacred mountain is no longer the same as before. Lu Ruashi stared at the stars in the distance and whispered to Su-yi what she knew about the sacred mountain. The sacred mountain was now divided into Yuchi Changfeng, the Supreme Elder, and the Lord's faction. Yuchi Changfeng was aggressive and reckless, but the Lord was stagnant and slow. Since the Lord brought the Xiahong house back, the sacred mountain was like fire and water. Lu Ruashi and the Xiahong house were indifferent to fame and fortune, so they naturally sided with the Lord. Yuchi Changfeng, on the other hand, had always thought that he was the future of the sacred mountain. Therefore, with the support of the Supreme Elder and other experts, he was even more unscrupulous in many matters. I know that the Lord is just too lazy to care. Otherwise, Yuchi Changfeng would not be so rampant. Lu Ruashi sighed slightly. Lu Ruashi's intention was to lessen Su-yi's hatred for the sacred mountain. Su-yi did not want to brush off Lu Ruashi's good intentions, but Yuchi Changfeng and the holy fire must die. Su-yi would pay back 10 times for those who attacked the Bawang sect and Mancheng. This was Su-yi's reverse scale that could not be touched. Not only the sacred mountain, but also the Long family. What's the situation with the Xiahong house? Is he not on good terms with Yuchi Changfeng? Lu Ruashi tilted her head slightly and recalled the situation in the past. She entered the sacred mountain almost 10 years later than the Xiahong house. During those 10 years, the Xiahong house was always by the Lord's side and treated as his own. No one was allowed to come in contact with him, and no one was allowed to teach him. Strangely, the Lord did not teach him, but let the Xiahong Hao study in the sacred martial hall of the sacred mountain. Sui could not help but feel a little strange, and at the same time, he was shocked. He became the fifth holy son of the sacred mountain with his own understanding and comprehension. Similarly, Sui did not have the guidance of a master, but he had the mysterious space and the origin supreme technique. If that's the case, the Xiahong House kid is indeed a dragon among men. Sui was shocked. It was hard to imagine what kind of terrifying heights the Xiahong House could reach if they were carefully cultivated by the sacred mountain. Thinking of the Xiahong House's attitude toward Yuchi Changfeng and himself, he could also see the arrogance and self-esteem in his heart. I also heard from others that when the fifth holy son was carried back by the Lord, he was covered in blood, but he did not make a fuss. It was very magical. Lu Ruashi's eyes flashed with a trace of doubt, but Sui laughed and said lightly, "That guy's personality has been so annoying since he was young. What a blockhead." While speaking, Sui put down Lu Ruashi's hand and hugged her tightly in his arms. "After talking about them, let's talk about us." "Us?" Lu Ruashi asked softly. Sui asked tentatively, "Did you just say it was the last time?" Lu Ruashi hesitated slightly, and her red lips were so tight that they looked like they were dripping blood. She said, "This is what I said before, we shouldn't." Without waiting for Lu Ruashi to finish, Sui's hands tightened, and his shy face was like a cherry. His nose twitched slightly, and his body suddenly trembled. Chapter 1852. Lu Ruashi's snow-white arms struggled in Sui's strong arms, unable to move. "Sui, you've gone too far." Lu Ruashi's voice was weak. "How could you be angry?" Sui didn't care. His eyes shone brightly as he asked firmly, "Then are you leaving or not? If I'm not leaving, can you stop me?" Lu Ruashi was so angry that she laughed. Sui shook his head. His expression was calm as he lowered his head and spoke to Lu Ruashi. "I tied you up. If you run to the ends of the earth, I'll chase you to the ends of the earth. If you hide in the holy mountain for the rest of your life, I'll flatten the holy mountain and bring you back to the chaos region to be my wife." Sui said shamelessly with a hint of pride. Lu Ruashi's eyes were bright, and her lips were white as snow. She knew that Sui's words were spoken out of anger, and a hint of yearning appeared in her eyes. Ever since she was young, Lu Ruashi had been told by her father to cultivate diligently. She was the apple of Man City's city lord's eye. As the daughter of the Holy Mountain, she had long been chosen by the Holy Mountain. She could only persevere. This was also why Lu Ruashi had such a strong reaction to Sui's frivolity. Her path was different from ordinary people. She had never seen peach blossoms or willows, and she had never seen the various forms of life. "There are some things that you will understand when the time comes." "Sui, I understand your heart." "That's enough." Lu Ruashi sighed. Just as Sui was about to say something, many people gathered at the foot of the stone steps. "Quick, quick, quick! All the famous doctors of the divine tiger continent, follow me." Sui and Lu Ruashi calmed themselves down and jumped onto a branch to look down. Not only were there people from the demon-subduing sect, but there were also many people from the divine tiger sect. What do they need famous doctors for? Sui shrugged helplessly, indicating that he knew nothing about it. Lu Ruashi, who was attentive, looked at Sui's naughty lips and smiled knowingly. "It's getting late. I'll head back now," Lu Ruashi said to Sui reluctantly. "All right, don't let anyone find out. You're the 9th holy maiden, and I'm a gigolo." Sui narrowed his eyes and smiled. Lu Ruashi spat and turned into a tiny ball of powerful golden light before disappearing into thin air. Sui took a deep look at Lu Ruashi's back and raised his eyebrows. Then he heard the shouts from below. "Where are the people the demon-subduing sect is looking for? Why aren't they here yet?" A man dressed like the divine tiger sect shouted. "I've already sent someone to the demon-subduing sect to invite them. They should be in Nether City right now, and will arrive at daybreak." The aura of an expert filled the air as the expert from the divine tiger sect gave the order. bringing all the soul tamers, alchemists, and famous doctors and poison masters from the Divine Tiger sect. They rushed towards the Divine Tiger sect in a grandiose manner. He studied the forest for a long time before turning into a blur and returning to the demon-subduing sect's territory. In the meantime, He asked the demon-subduing sect who was in charge of looking for the famous doctor. Qi Xingbao told He that the demon-subduing sect had specially sent Qi Jiuzhen to show their seriousness. He nodded his head, and a perfect plan instantly formed in his mind. Qi Feihong knew that He must have gone out to deliver the gifts, and his heart was filled with complaints. "Little brother, what are you doing? Why are you so infatuated?" He raised his head and looked at Qi Feihong, who was protected by the Origin Supreme technique. Yi's lips curled into a smile. "Let's put on another show, shall we?" Qi Feihong turned his head around, circling around Yi's head as he roared, "Give me back my things." Yi was slightly shocked. So, this old fellow was still scheming against him. He immediately said with a straight face, "Did you see the nether flame grass and 9 orifices return Yang leaf in the space?" Qi Feihong slowly landed on the ground. Facing Yi's threat, Qi Feihong was defeated. He stretched his ears over to listen to Yi's plan. A shrewd smile would appear on his face from time to time as he nodded his head faintly. Qi Feihong's face was filled with excitement when he heard Yi's indifferent words. "After tomorrow, I guarantee that you'll have these things again." The next day, the fog dispersed and the clouds cleared. Nether City welcomed a rare day of clear skies. Because of the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament, Nether City, as the largest city in Nether Province, was packed with people and bustling with noise and excitement. On the bustling streets, there was an endless stream of people selling their skills, medicine, beast cores, and mounts. On the wide streets, Qi Jiuzhen accompanied the Divine Tiger Sect's experts as they circled around Nether City. She had recovered from her injuries, and her beautiful crimson dress was dragging on the ground. She followed behind him proudly. The mighty formation immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding cultivators, who were pointing at them and discussing among themselves. "Isn't that the demon-subduing sect's Miss Jiuzhen? She's really charming." "Yeah, why aren't they preparing for the next match? Why are they still loitering around Nether City? Don't you see the Divine Tiger Sect's people? They're probably here to treat Shangguan Shenjua's injuries. You want to recover from such heavy injuries? I think that Divine Tiger Sect shouldn't be thinking about this ranking tournament." Crossing her arms, Qi Jiuzhen sneered coldly in her heart as she spoke to the Divine Tiger Sect's people. "My two friends, the demon-subduing sect has accompanied you for an entire night. Have we found all the famous doctors and poison masters in Nether City? Is that not enough?" The two tiger god experts looked at each other in dismay, their expressions uncertain as they dragged their exhausted bodies and said, "Miss Jiuzhen, the young sect master doesn't seem to be getting better. We can't report back to him." "Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with the young sect master. Why is it so troublesome?" The two of them shook their heads at the same time. Facing the criticism of the crowd and the urging of the demon-subduing sect, they were also extremely anxious. The Spirit Treasures sect has gathered many famous doctors and poison masters to treat the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament participants for free. All kinds of difficult illnesses can be cured with medicine. A familiar voice suddenly rang out from the crowd. Instantly, countless people headed towards the Spirit Treasures sect to join in the fun. Qi Jiuzhen's beautiful brows furrowed slightly. Her fiery red body twisted forward as she was puzzled. "Isn't that the voice of Gong Ling, who has been following me all year round?" "Sister Jiuzhen, that sounds like..." Qi Jiuzhen's thoughts raced as she made a shushing gesture. The two Divine Tiger Sect's experts seemed to have found a life-saving straw as they quickly followed the crowd. "Chase after them and take a look." Yuan Qi rose from Qi Jiuzhen's feet as her body moved like lightning. In an instant, she caught up with the Divine Tiger Sect's footsteps. In front of the Spirit Treasures sect, there was a sea of people. Countless stalls were set up in front of the sect. The Spirit Treasures sect is truly crafty. These poison doctors from all over the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea must have been prepared long ago. Who asked them to have such a huge business? The Divine Tiger Sect's experts opened their eyes wide as they walked back and forth in front of the stalls. Huff, huff. The sound of Yuan Qi healing echoed continuously, and some of the Heavenly Wind participants who had suffered light injuries quickly recovered. However, this obviously did not meet the standards of the Divine Tiger Sect. The 2 of them were also Origin Emperors. They could tell the standard of these famous doctors with a single glance. At this moment, a doctor in a black robe, standing in the corner, was different from the others. He attracted the attention of the 2 experts. Chapter 1853. The 2 experts from the Divine Tiger Sect narrowed their eyes and scanned the countless stalls. There was an endless stream of people in front of every stall. Some of the first-rate sects came in a hurry, so the demon-slaying sect couldn't provide them with too many pills and treatment supplies. Therefore, many of the first-rate sects came to Nether City with the intention of giving it a try. Unexpectedly, the Spirit Treasure sect seemed to have anticipated this and arranged for so many divine alchemists to treat people's injuries. At that time, the cost was extremely high. Just the consultation fee alone was 10 3-star origin stones per person. After deducting the cost of the herbs and pills, the Spirit Treasure sect would make a huge profit from the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament. Looking at the people coming and going, every stall was bustling with noise and excitement. However, no one paid any attention to the old man sitting in the corner. Occasionally, when someone came over, they would be chased away by the old man. What's the situation with that person? The expert from the Divine Tiger sect asked the person beside him in a low voice. The other expert from the Divine Tiger sect shook his head. The black-robed old man opposite him had a strong and ancient aura. It was obvious that he was a top expert. At this time, Qi Jiuzhen and the others had also arrived. They scanned the crowd and also noticed the black-robed man in the corner. A short figure passed through the bustling crowd and came to Qi Jiuzhen's side with a chuckle. Sister Jiuzhen. Qi Jiuzhen raised her eyebrows and looked at Gong Ling, who was looking around, and said in a low voice, "What were you shouting about? Weren't you on the mountain? Who told you to come down?" Suddenly, a heavy knuckle rapped on Gong Ling's head, causing a swollen red mark to appear. It was the sect master who told me to come down the mountain immediately. I rushed down in a hurry. Gong Ling felt wronged. Qi Jiuzhen looked at Gong Ling suspiciously. The sect master that Gong Ling mentioned was naturally her father. What was the sect master's motive? "Hey, you over there." The Divine Tiger sect's words caused Qi Jiuzhen to raise her head slightly and frown. The expert from the Divine Tiger sect slowly walked towards the black-robed old man. His eyes were filled with brilliance as he spoke in an extremely arrogant manner. "Can you cure bees poison?" The black-robed old man twisted his body and replied in an extremely hoarse voice, "Even if I can cure you, I might not be able to afford it." As soon as these words came out, everyone's gazes shot over. The martial artists who were treating next door were all surprised. From their clothes, it could be seen that these 2 people were dressed luxuriously and had extraordinary auras. They must be experts from the Divine Tiger sect. What a joke! The Divine Tiger sect's expert threw his head back and laughed loudly. His long robe fluttered as he slammed the 10 3-star origin stones on the table. "What I have is money. There is no famous doctor that the Divine Tiger sect can't hire. If you have the ability, quickly follow me up the mountain. If you don't have the ability, then scram." The black-robed old man also laughed wildly under the black mask. His hands didn't move at all, but a long beastly roar could be heard from behind him. The incomparably huge spider silhouette behind him was like a demonic beast that suppressed the heavens, setting off monstrous waves. In a split second, his clothes fluttered in the wind, and the gravel surged. The colorful flags that filled the sky were directly overturned and flew into the distance. The 10 3-star origin stones on the table instantly turned into fine powder and scattered. The martial artists next door, who were originally here to treat their patients, directly fell to the ground. Their eyes were filled with intense shock. Such a terrifying gale and monstrous wave with such a heavy aura definitely belonged to a beast-controlling expert who had an extremely profound understanding of demonic beasts. The divine tiger sex people who were pushed back dozens of steps by the monstrous wave instantly turned pale. This kind of power belonged to an absolute expert. Casually, the black-robed old man said faintly, 10 three-star origin stones. This old man has never received such a low treatment fee. If you're trying to dismiss a beggar, then scram far away from this old man. The sound waves came one after another and bombarded everyone's bones like the sound of heaven. Facing such a powerful aura, all the onlookers, including Qi Jiuzhen, covered their ears. The earth-shattering origin Qi drew in the energy of heaven and earth. A terrifying fluctuation spread out from within his body. The terrifying aura from the ancient hell spread everywhere. This voice! Qi Jiuzhen raised his eyes. There was also a familiar, profound aura. Obviously, it was Su Yi's voice. Suddenly, Qi Jiuzhen's cold face flashed with a trace of light. He started to examine this black-robed old man again with a slightly different color. So it's him. Qi Jiuzhen smiled indifferently. His mind instantly relaxed. If such a powerful doctor came to Yuzhou and cured Shangwan Xinjua, he didn't know what to do. The two divine tiger sex people were frightened by the black-robed old man's aura and felt a little uneasy. The illusory shadow behind them looked at the divine tiger sex experts with its huge demonic eyes. Immediately, their hearts and souls were shaken and dazzled. What should we do? After discussing, the two divine tiger sex people bowed deeply to the black-robed old man at the same time. Then, one of them walked towards the stairs of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion, while the other walked towards the crowd. Miss Jiuzhen, do you think the aura released by that old man is reliable? The demon-subduing sect had always cultivated with demonic beasts and had a profound understanding of them. Qi Jiuzhen said impatiently, he's very powerful. I don't know if he can cure Shangwan Xinjua's injury, but it's more than enough to kill you. The divine tiger sex people frowned and looked at the stairs. The other divine tiger sex people were inquiring about the black-robed old man's origin from Jing Baiwa. Deacon Jing, do you know the origin of this old man? The divine tiger sex people asked patiently. Jing Baiwa raised her eyebrows and looked at the black-robed old man below the stage. The Spirit Treasures Pavilion is only responsible for providing the venue and collecting rent and commission. You want to know who he is? I want to ask you, will you compensate him for the damage he caused? The two divine tiger sex people were shut out at the same time. They could only hear the onlookers pointing and whispering behind them. He actually forced the divine tiger sex people back with one move. Yeah, is he a hidden expert from Yuzhou? Yuzhou is a barren land. It's not strange for one or two eccentric experts to appear. Gongling also asked Qi Jiuzhen, Sister Jiuzhen, could this be the legendary ghost poison old man? Qi Jiuzhen's eyes flashed with a strange light. She said in a low voice, don't talk nonsense. The ghost poison old man has been alive for 100 years. Even if he's still alive, he's at least 170 years old. Hearing Qi Jiuzhen's words, the divine tiger sex people were even more surprised. They shook their long robes and raised their spirits. They walked toward the black-robed old man and said solemnly, may I ask if old Mister is the ghost poison old man? The black-robed old man's body moved slightly. There seemed to be a bright light shooting out from under the pitch-black mask. His aura fluctuated continuously. A deep and hoarse voice came from under the hood. He laughed and said, ghost poison old man? I've long forgotten this name. Who are you? Didn't I tell you to get lost? Chapter 1854. The black-robed old man's words immediately made the two divine tiger sect experts happy. It seemed that the mysterious man in front of them must be the famous ghost poison old man. His exhaustion from wandering around Nether City for an entire night had not been in vain. A look of joy appeared on his tired face, as if he could finally complete his task. However, The two Origin Emperors were still hesitant and did not move forward. The ghost poison old man was an expert from 150 years ago. As for what he looked like and how powerful he was, no one knew if they had seen him before. If this was a fake, it would make things worse for the young master. When the master blamed them, they would not be able to bear the consequences. That would definitely bring about a fatal disaster. Faced with such a decision, the two experts had no choice but to be cautious. They raised their heads and looked at Jing Baihua and Qi Jiuzhen again. Their faint smile made the two even more suspicious. After pondering for a moment, the two divine tiger sect experts clenched their teeth and took a deep breath. If it really wasn't the ghost poison old man, there were many experts in the sect, and they would definitely be able to tell. They swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and their eyes instantly became filled with reverence. May I know how much the old mister needs to go up the mountain to see a patient? The divine tiger sect experts bowed and asked again, afraid of angering the ghost poison old man again. The black-robed old man laughed softly and shook his head. He seemed to be disappointed by the stupidity of the two Origin Emperors in front of him. Whoosh! Do I need a consultation fee? The space in front of him rippled continuously as he slammed his hands on the table. Boom! Immediately, a violent force went along the corner of the table and penetrated several inches into the floor. Four heavy sonic booms resounded. Four neat and smooth round holes quickly formed. Countless tiny, spiderweb-like cracks appeared in the surroundings. A faint, blazing aura spread out and the brown cracks coiled around the corner of the table like dragons. It was a shocking sight. The shriveled hands under the black robe left the table in satisfaction. But the table was still intact. One move shook four tables. Without a deep understanding of the attribute of Origin Qi, it was impossible to perform such a remote Origin Qi attack. Everyone's eyes instantly popped out. Even Jing Baihua on the stage put away her indifferent attitude. Her eyes were filled with shock. So strong. Stinking brat. How did you become so strong all of a sudden? Jing Baihua muttered to herself. Then, she pursed her lips and walked into the pavilion. Countless spectators widened their eyes and were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Thump! The powerful martial artist from the Divine Tiger sect immediately had a thought, and he subconsciously took a step back. His attitude became extremely humble, while all the doubts in his heart were swept away, and his hands trembled as he apologized. Yes, I have been rude. May I ask, if I can trouble you to go up the mountain to treat my family's young master, what are your requirements? My Divine Tiger sect will definitely satisfy all your requests. Under the black robe, he moved his robe and said in a low voice, When I treat people, I always pay a life for a life. If you believe in my poison technique, I'll give you a chance. Give me the same life as your young sect master in exchange, otherwise scram. Su Yi's words were not polite at all, and even Qi Jiuzhen was slightly shocked. How many people in the world were more valuable than Shangguan Xinjua's life? However, in Su Yi's eyes, Shangguan Xinjua and the entire Divine Tiger sect's lives were not comparable to the Bawang sect's lives. The upper reaches of the sect, who treated lives like grass, were the ones who were truly worthless. Qi Jiuzhen sneered, and his face under the black robe was resolute and stern. He was filled with a monstrous killing intent that rolled over and enveloped the surroundings. After muttering to himself for a while, the Divine Tiger sect's people made up their minds. Even if they had to beg on their knees, they would ask the ghost poison elder to go up the mountain. They looked back at Qi Jiuzhen, hoping that he, as the host, could help them. Qi Jiuzhen smiled faintly, and the Divine Tiger sect's people knew that they had no hope. Immediately, one of the Divine Tiger sect's people took out a box of origin crystals from his interspatial bag and respectfully placed it on the seat in front of the black-robed old man. Even though he was heartbroken, he had no choice but to endure the pain in his heart and plead. Senior Ghost Poison, this is the most valuable thing that we brothers have. It's a 5-star origin crystal box. Take it as this little one's filial piety to you. It does not include the consultation fee, remuneration, medicinal ingredients, or elixir formula fees. Please follow us up the mountain. I guarantee that the sect master will reward you handsomely. The other divine tiger sect's people who were standing at the side were also a little anxious. There was not much time left for the sect master's instructions, and he was half kneeling on the corner of the table. "Senior, why don't you come with us?" Just as he finished speaking, he actually choked with sobs. The 7-chi-tall Origin Emperor expert's body began to tremble. No one was laughing. The upper reaches Divine Tiger Sect's young sect master was about to be crippled. Even if the Divine Tiger Sect had to expend the Divine Tiger Sect's strength, they would not hesitate. Now that they had grasped onto a little bit of hope, no one was willing to give it up. What was the Origin Emperor's dignity? The only ones who could laugh were Qi Jiuzhen and the black-robed Su Yi. Qi Jiuzhen's eyelashes fluttered. Her voluptuous body was facing Su Yi. There was a hint of playfulness in her charming eyes. There was no sharpness, only endless splendor. Sister Jiuzhen, the Divine Tiger Sect has already reached such a stage. Why are you still laughing? The demon-subduing sect's disciple reminded her softly. Qi Jiuzhen smiled, but did not say anything. After a long while, the black-robed Su Yi said solemnly, "Enough. Noisy. This old man will accompany you on this trip. Later, tell me what kind of strange illness your young sect master has contracted." Qi Jiuzhen and the others immediately parted the crowd and respectfully made way for the ghost-poison old man. When Su Yi passed by Qi Jiuzhen, he coughed heavily. The old voice almost made Qi Jiuzhen laugh out loud. Demon-subduing sect where the Divine Tiger Sect was located. In a spacious stone house, Shangguan Juehu sat on a chair. His eyes were filled with anger and anxiety. Not sleeping for an entire night was nothing to an expert like Shangguan Juehu. However, the mental and physical exhaustion made him look much older. "Trash. All of you are trash." Shangguan Juehu crushed the teacup in his hand, causing the dust to fly everywhere. He looked as if he had gone mad. All the experts and elders in the hall had gathered together. Their faces were solemn, and they did not dare to speak loudly. Father, Father, save me, Father, I'm in so much pain." Hearing Shangguan Juehu's bone-piercing howls and cries, Shangguan Juehu felt as if his heart was bleeding. If he could not participate in the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament, not only would his son's life be ruined, the entire Divine Tiger Sect would not be able to compete in the upper echelons for the next 60 years. Damn it, I must tear that bastard Su Yi into pieces. Killing intent surged in Shangguan Juehu's eyes as his body trembled in anger. Chapter 1855. Shangguan Juehu's eyes were bloodshot as he fiercely defended his son like a mad lion. "Where's Su Yi?" Did the demon-subduing sect reply? Did they find him or not? The elder of the demon-subduing sect said with a trembling voice. The demon-subduing sect said that they didn't see Su Yi. Narrowing his eyes, Shangguan Juehu's veins were bulging due to the pressure. He said fiercely, "If I find out that Su Yi is hiding that bastard, I'll kill the entire demon-subduing sect." Sect leader, Deacon Xian Hu and Deacon Zhang, who are back. Chila. Everyone immediately stood up and looked outside the door. Did they bring someone back? Shangguan Juehu rubbed his forehead and said, "Did they bring someone back?" After a night of emergency treatment, almost all the experts and famous doctors of the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea have been brought back. Yu Prefecture was turned upside down, but Shangguan Shinjua still showed no signs of improvement. Everyone's face was filled with indescribable disappointment as they discussed in low voices about how to cure Shangguan Shinjua. Shangguan Shinjua's painful howls were like worms twisting their hearts. Shangguan Juehu clenched his teeth and shook his robe. "Let's go out and take a look." Standing in front of the door, Shangguan Juehu looked at the approaching figure and immediately used his soul to probe. Other than the Divine Tiger Sect, there was also Qi Jiuzhen from the demon-subduing sect. Surrounded in the center was a black-robed expert. "Do you know who they brought?" Shangguan Juehu asked the person who just reported. It's said to be the ghost poison old man. The divine tiger sect's disciple trembled in fear as he quickly retreated to the side. Shangguan Juehu stroked his chin and frowned. He had never heard of the ghost poison old man before. Moreover, they couldn't find a solution after searching for an entire night. Then, the ghost poison old man came in the morning. Shangguan Juhu's vulture-like eyes sized up the group of people from afar. The elders and experts of the divine tiger sect behind him began to discuss in low voices, whispering into each other's ears. Ghost poison old man? Is he from Yu Prefecture? Why haven't I heard of him before? He shouldn't be from Yuzhou. None of the experts had heard of it. Shangguan Juehu's face was filled with disappointment. It seemed like their efforts were in vain. Was the divine tiger sect really not fated to participate in the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament? Shangguan Juehu clenched his fists as he thought about the possibility that Shangguan Xinjua would suffer from a chronic illness due to his severe injuries. Ghost poison old man. Could it be the supreme poison master of Yuzhou from 150 years ago? One of the very old experts murmured faintly. Hearing this, Shangguan Juehu raised his eyebrows slightly. Then, an elder came forward and said, "The ghost poison old man is said to have been a supreme expert of the poison Tao 100 years ago. After that, he went into seclusion and no longer appeared in the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea. Thus, no one knows of his whereabouts." Shangguan Juehu's face lit up with joy as he asked in a deep voice, "Elder Luanhu, are you sure?" The face of the old man called Luanhu was filled with wrinkles. His dim yellow eyes once again narrowed as he shook his head. No one has ever seen the true face of the ghost poison old man. No one could be sure. Elder Luanhu's words were not without reason. Shangguan Juehu whispered a few words into Elder Luanhu's ear before disappearing from the crowd. Not long after, Xian Hu and Song Hu led Su Yi to Shangguan Juehu. Raising his head slightly, Xian Hu said respectfully, "Senior ghost poison old man, look, our sect master is personally welcoming you. Yes, this is a courtesy that no one else has received. Senior ghost poison old man, you must cure our young sect master." Su Yi, who was hidden under the black robe, sneered. It was only right for a father to care about his son. However, this could only mean that the divine tiger sect was already at the end of their road. How could our demon-subduing illusionary tome be so easy to cure? The demonic core that you used to explode was left behind by the poison-devouring heart remnant ant that no longer exists. It would be strange if they could recover. Chi Feihong smiled complacently. Su Yi nodded his head in satisfaction. "Since you, Shangguan Xinjua, want to obtain the mysterious treasure chest so much, then I'll use the mysterious treasure chest to deal with you. I'll make sure you can't participate in the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament. Shangguan Xinjua, you'll suffer." Su Yi's lips curled into a smile under his black robe. However, he still pretended to be serious and said in a low voice, "I don't put the divine tiger sect in my eyes. Stop talking nonsense and lead the way." Xian Hu and Song, who were not angered by such arrogant words. Instead, they became even more humble as they bowed and led the way in front. Su Yi was very satisfied with the divine tiger sect's attitude. He swaggered as he followed them to the temporary residence of the divine tiger sect. Walala, Shangguan Juehu led a group of experts and elders who came to participate in the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament. He sized up Su Yi, who was wearing a black robe. "Is this senior ghost poison?" Shangguan Juehu asked in a low voice. Borrowing Chi Feihong's voice, Su Yi abruptly waved his right hand from within his loose black robes like a bolt of lightning. In an instant, the power of a peak origin ancestor's remnant soul filled the air. Using the Origin Supreme technique, it carried a terrifying might as it swept towards the crowd. In an instant, Shangguan Juehu's eyes darkened. The few venerables behind him waved their hands, and several demonic lights turned into rings of light in front of them. Bang! The dull sound of the collision turned into a monstrous aura that disappeared between heaven and earth. Neither of them took half a step back, but Shangguan Juehu's expression had completely changed. The Origin Supreme technique, combined with Qi Fei Hong's peak Origin Ancestor Realm strength, had a terrifying effect that was comparable to the Origin Domain Realm. The few Grand Elders of the Divine Tiger sect narrowed their eyes and said in a low voice, "Origin Domain Realm, without a doubt." Su Yi turned around and was about to leave when he put on a displeased expression. "What? Are you afraid that I'm a fake? A bunch of immature children." Looking at the furious Su Yi, Shangwan Juhu hurriedly rushed in front of Su Yi and said coldly with an arrogant expression, "The Divine Tiger sect is in danger. Senior Ghost Poison, please calm down. It's necessary to be cautious." Su Yi's hoarse voice was like sandpaper. He formed hand seals and continuously released the demonic aura of the demon, subduing illusory technique. "What does the safety of your Divine Tiger sect have to do with me? Who wants to see your son's illness? I don't want to see it. Get lost." The sudden demonic aura seemed to give Shangwan Juehu hope. He took a deep breath and crossed his hands. "Senior Ghost Poison, what are you saying? Since you're here, the Divine Tiger sect will definitely treat you with respect. How can we neglect you? Please come in." After saying that, Shangwan Juehu gave a look to both sides and politely invited Su Yi into the house. Shangwan Juehu, who had always been suspicious of Su Yi's black robe, could vaguely see a pair of sharp eyes hidden under it. Chapter 1856. Under the black robe, Su Yi had used Merciless West disguise technique to create a face full of scars and poison scars. After seeing the face clearly, Shangwan Juhu moved his gaze away and walked in front as if nothing had happened, leading the way with a smile on his face. As soon as he entered the room, Su Yi could smell the smell of medicine in the room. He laughed in his heart. Divine Tiger's sect must have thought of a way. As he walked closer, Su Yi saw a weak figure lying on the bed. Su Yi faintly felt that this person looked different from Shangwan Xinjua. However, they had the same problem. After treatment, the small injuries had basically healed. The only thing left was the beast poison still entrenched in the 8 extraordinary meridians. Ouch! Shangwan Xinjua was lying on the bed with difficulty. His breath was weak, and he had just vomited a large basin of poisonous blood. Qi Jiuzhen took a glance and left in disgust. Shangwan Juehu's eyes were filled with love as he sat on the bed and transferred his Yuan Qi into Shangwan Xinjua's body. The rippling Yuan Qi light shone on Shangwan Xinjua's pale face. He slowly opened his weak eyes. After not seeing him for a day, Shangwan Xinjua had lost a lot of weight. When Su Yi saw this, he sneered in his heart. This Shangwan Juehu was really cautious. Although this person looked very similar to Shangwan Xinjua, he was not Shangwan Xinjua. He was just a substitute for Shangwan Xinjua. It seems like Divine Tiger's sect doesn't want to treat him. Fine, this old man doesn't want to treat your son. After that, Su Yi took to his heels and left. Shangwan Xinhu's expression immediately became extremely solemn. Senior Gue Du's eyesight is really extraordinary. Juehu was rude. Divine Tiger sect had no choice but to use this method. Su Yi turned around and said, "Whether or not he can be treated and whether or not I can treat him are two different things. If Divine Tiger sect doesn't have this little bit of sincerity, this old man doesn't want to waste time." Over and over again, Su Yi was enraged by Shangwan Juehu's antics, even though he had other ideas. Shangwan Juehu's face turned solemn. He then ordered his men to take out 10 6-star Vitality Stone crystal boxes and deliver them to Su Yi. "Senior, this is a small gift from Everlasting Tiger. As for whether or not it can be cured, let's see how it goes." Su Yi's heart couldn't help but churn. Good heavens, this was a 6-star Essence Stone crystal box. It was simply too valuable. The Divine Tiger sect had given him a 5-star Primal Crystal box and 10 6-star Primal Crystal boxes as a greeting gift. Suddenly, Su Yi began to feel jealous of these sect disciples. With the cultivation of a sect, it was no wonder that they could rise so quickly. Su Yi's gaze swept across the primordial stone that was glowing with a strange light. He said without showing any emotion, "This is the last time. Don't test this old man's patience." Shangguan Juehu kept apologizing. From the moment he saw Chu Li's strength, to the moment he peeked at Chu Li's face, to the moment he saw Chu Li's eyesight, Shangguan Juehu no longer had any doubts in his heart. He led Su Yi around the screen and into the inner room. As soon as he entered the room, he heard a heart-wrenching sound. "Father, I'm in so much pain." Shangguan Xinjue no longer had the strength to cry out. Shangguan Xinjue's withered hands trembled as he clutched at the corner of the quilt. Cold sweat intertwined. "Zhuer, hold on for a while, just a while. Father has found you a supreme poison doctor. He will definitely be able to cure your injuries." Shangguan Xinjue raised his head to look at the top of the bed, as if he was staring at Su Yi's face. His eyes were filled with horror and shock. The halo in front of his eyes did not dissipate. It was as if he could see countless residual heart ants rushing towards him. It was also as if the moment of the explosion kept flashing in front of his eyes. Shangguan Juehu personally lifted Shangguan Xinjue up. His face was ashen as he let Shangguan Xinjue hold on to the armrest beside him. This is the ghost poison old man. Let Senior treat you properly." Shangguan Juehu stood up and cupped his hands towards Su Yi. He said in an extremely respectful manner, "Senior, I'll have to trouble you." Su Yi nodded solemnly. Immediately, a silk thread wrapped around his index finger. The silk thread wrapped itself around Shangguan Xinjue's pulse as if it was alive. The silk thread trembled. Su Yi pretended to treat Shangguan Xinjue. The room instantly quieted down. Even the sound of Shangguan Xinjue's heartbeat began to grow louder. After a long while, Shangguan Xinjue weakly opened his eyes and looked at the senior in front of him. Shangguan Xinjue took a step forward with concern. He looked anxious as he cupped his hands and asked, "Senior, how is it?" Su Yi pretended to be mysterious. He raised his head and shook it. Then he said in a low voice, "This is left behind by an ancient demonic beast, the poisonous residual heart ant." "How did you provoke such a demonic beast?" Shangguan Juehu and Shangguan Xinjue nodded frantically at the same time. Shangguan Xinjue moved his body with difficulty and looked at Su Yi anxiously. "Senior, you're right. It's a long story. Is there a way to treat it?" Shangguan Juehu seemed to have seen hope and was very anxious. Su Yi's hoarse voice sounded again. "Others may not be able to cure the extinct poison, but there is no poison in this world that I can cure." "Really?" Shangguan Juehu's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. His clothes fluttered as he rushed forward. His eyes were filled with ecstasy. "Senior, can it really be cured?" Shangguan Juehu asked again. Su Yi nodded and said, "But the young sect master's poison has already penetrated deep into his internal organs. If you don't treat it, I'm afraid that his martial path will end." Gulp. Shangguan Xinjue's eyes were filled with fear and unwillingness. He grabbed Su Yi's clothes tightly and said in a sobbing tone, "Senior, you have to save me. I don't want to become a cripple. What do you want? The Divine Tiger sect will give it to you." Shangguan Xinjue's emotions had reached the peak, and he was on the verge of collapse. He was crying like a stray dog. Shangguan Xinjue, who was affected by Shangguan Xinjue's sobbing, also wiped his tears and said fiercely, "Senior, please heal Xinjue's injuries. We will accept any conditions." Su Yi also told Shangguan Xinjue about the strange rule of killing one person. Shangguan Xinjue's aura was weak, but he was still full of murderous intent. "Senior, as long as you heal me, I will give you the head of the person who injured me." Su Yi couldn't help but roll his eyes. Su Yi wanted to kill Yuchi Changfeng or Bahai Santong for him. Shangguan Xinjue was about to die, but he still wanted to kill him. He was really courting death. Shangguan Juehu said, "Yes, Su Yi is the thorn in the side of the sacred mountain. He injured my son to this extent. He deserves to pay with his life." The Iron Soulfish and Qi Feihong burst into laughter. Su Yi shook his head and said, "He might be famous to you, but to me, he's worthless." Su Yi stretched out his left hand and made a 1 sign. From Qi Feihong, he knew that the energy of a 6-star primal crystal box was comparable to the energy of a demon grandmaster's demonic core. A 7-star primal crystal box was comparable to the demonic core of a demon dominion's demonic core. In order to increase his cultivation quickly, Su Yi wanted to get as many demonic cores as possible from the demon's subduing sect. Chapter 1857. He had to find another way to find more powerful treasures. Therefore, Su Yi took the opportunity to blackmail the Divine Tiger sect. "Senior, please enlighten me." Shangguan Juehu took a deep breath and listened carefully as if he was prepared. 106-star primal crystal boxes to help me refine the poison, and must be fast. With such an exorbitant demand, Shangguan Juehu was put in a difficult position as he looked at Su Yi and his severely injured son. Shangguan Juehu thought for a long time and finally said, "Okay, but I didn't bring so many primal stones with me when I went out." Su Yi smiled. As long as Shangguan Juehu agreed, it would be fine. He was only afraid that Shangguan Juehu would not agree. "It's okay. I will now reduce the young sect master's injuries. This old man will come again tomorrow." After saying that, Su Yi quickly formed a hand seal, and the poisonous, devouring heart ant's shadow appeared behind him. The light of the demonic beast shone brightly. From Su Yi's palm, an extremely hot red demonic qi surged out like a giant python and instantly surrounded Shangguan Xinjue. The extremely hot demonic qi flowed along Su Yi's palm and slid into Shangguan Xinjue's heart meridian. It accurately found the demonic beast's poison and burned it. With the demons subduing illusionary tome, it was extremely easy for Su Yi to remove the demonic beast poison. But obviously, Su Yi would not give up so easily. He angrily said, "Get out." The shock in Shangguan Juehu's eyes had not yet disappeared. When he heard Su Yi's words, he quickly left the room. Before he left, he saw that Shangguan Xinjue's complexion had recovered. He immediately felt relieved. He saved. As Shangguan Juehu walked, he thought about how to catch Su Yi and cut him into pieces. Little did he know that Su Yi was treating his precious son's injuries. Su Yi's mouth curved into an evil smile. Looking at Shangguan Xinjue's face, his heart burned with anger. Even in such a state, he still didn't forget to kill Su Yi. Su Yi subconsciously added a wisp of fire-attributed origin energy to his hand. The terrifying temperature was crazily moving through Shangguan Xinjue's meridians, incinerating the remnants of the beast poison. At the same time, it also burned his meridians, producing a charred smell. However, Su Yi's control was very good. The speed of the fire burning was always slower than the speed of recovery. "Su Yi, I will kill you." Shangguan Xinjue endured the pain in his meridians and roared again and again. The fiery aura that constantly surged out of his body burned his meridians until black smoke rose. The more he scolded Su Yi, the more yuan qi and strength in Su Yi's hands became stronger. "I'll let you scold me again. I'll burn you to death." Su Yi secretly cursed. Su Yi was in a great mood as he watched Shangguan Xinjue being tortured to the point that he didn't even look human in front of him. There was nothing he could do. A feeling of satisfaction that was even better than directly killing Shangguan Xinjue filled his entire body. Qi Feihong couldn't help but tremble. He sighed in his heart. This young man looked so young, but his methods and schemes had reached such a shocking level. He began to rejoice in his heart that he didn't provoke this little fiend. He then shook his head and didn't want to look anymore. He returned to his mysterious space and began to bathe in the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. Ever since Qi Feihong entered the mysterious space, the iron soulfish and Su Yi's conversation had decreased. The iron soulfish would only come out when Su Yi completely closed the mysterious space. Coincidentally, the iron soulfish was constantly moving back and forth between the first and third entrances, enjoying itself. Outside the door, Shangguan Juehu was overjoyed when he heard his son's heart-wrenching cries. The more Shangguan Xinjue was in pain, the more excited Shangguan Juehu was. This time, Shangguan Xinjue would be able to return to the ranks of the competitors. The Divine Tiger sect would rise again. After more than an hour, Su-yi was also somewhat tired from the torture. He comforted Shangwan Shinjua to sleep and gave him some pills to recover quickly. Then, he leisurely walked out of the room. He was in a good mood. Shangwan Juhu bowed and said, "Senior, how is it?" Su-yi coldly said, "It is already stabilized. Come again tomorrow, and it will be completely resolved." Shangwan Juehu quickly nodded and excitedly rubbed his palms. He loudly said, "Senior, I will have to trouble you to come again tomorrow." He bowed to Su-yi's back as he greeted him. He also told Su-yi that he would definitely prepare 106-star primal crystal stone boxes tomorrow. 106-star primal crystal stone boxes were equivalent to half a year's worth of expenses for the Divine Tiger sect. As long as they could heal Shangwan Shinjua's injuries, it was nothing. Shangwan Juehu walked into the room and looked at the dispirited Shangwan Shinjua. He sank into deep thought, and his expression was full of regret. Shangwan Shinjua, who had already recovered a lot, sat up. Shangwan Juehu said, "Son, how do you feel?" Shangwan Shinjua looked at his hands in amazement. The beast poison was almost completely removed. His whole body seemed to have been reborn. His face was rosy again. However, his meridians were full of burn marks. Every time he turned over, he would feel endless pain. Shangwan Shinjua weakly said, "There is no big problem. Father, that senior is really very capable." When the people who came to send him off told Shangwan Juehu that Su-yi had disappeared after leaving the room, Shangwan Juehu's heart sank. Shangwan Juehu took a deep breath. A trace of expectation appeared in his vicious eyes as he clenched his fists. "Tomorrow, I must take the opportunity to establish a relationship with this senior. He's a hidden expert." Shangwan Shinjua's eyes flashed with a trace of ruthlessness. He gritted his teeth and said, "Yes. With the senior's protection, I will definitely be able to twist Su-yi's head off and use it as a toilet bowl." When mentioning Su-yi, the two of them were filled with righteous indignation. Their thick killing intent shook the person who came to report, causing him to tremble. On the way back to the demon-subduing sect's secret cultivation room, Su-yi was in a good mood. After going out for half a day, he had brought back a 5-star primal crystal box, 10 6-star primal crystal boxes, and 106-star primal crystal boxes for tomorrow. A single 6-star primal crystal box required at least 6 6-star primal crystal stones to be polished. By tomorrow, Su-yi would truly become a rich man. The iron soulfish drooped its head and said energetically, "Kid, you got so many. Can you refine them all?" Su-yi twisted his neck and placed the primal crystal stones neatly into his spatial bag. The amount of energy needed for the divine, profound spiritual meridians is too terrifying. If I don't get more, I'm afraid I won't be able to support my future cultivation. After that, Su-yi took out all the phantom leopard's demonic cores. The desire in his eyes was like a burning flame. The strength of a nobleman was too terrifying. Even if he didn't have a way, he had to come up with a way to strengthen his foundation and increase his cultivation. Refine them. Looking at the huge amount of demonic, ethereal, staged demonic cores in front of him, Su-yi slowly closed his eyes. The thick aura around him quickly surrounded the demonic cores. They continued to fall on Su-yi's protective halo, turning into strands of mysterious and unfathomable runes that gradually seeped into his skin and went straight to his Dantian Chi Si. Chapter 1858. Rumble. Time passed like quicksand, and Su-yi's surroundings were constantly producing strong winds visible to the naked eye. The space constantly exploded and restored, and during this refining process, Su-yi's Dantian began to fill up again. Huff! After a night of cultivation, more than half of the demon illusionary stage monster core had been refined. Su-yi opened his eyes and sank his mind. The high-speed rotating vortex in his Dantian was fierce and quiet, but it was far from a sign of a breakthrough. Slightly standing up, Su-yi shook his head helplessly. Just filling up this terrifying Dantian, Su-yi had already tried his best. If there was no considerable amount of monster cores in the future, Su, you would have to spend a lot of time on cultivation just to absorb the energy of primal crystal stones in heaven and earth. His thoughts became more and more heavy. Immediately, Su opened his eyes, and a clear, indifferent light shot out. No matter how difficult it is, I have to persevere. Su stood up and tidied up his clothes. The sky outside was already bright. Su, who had changed his appearance again, took advantage of the thick fog and the stars in the sky, and drilled into the great demon mountain range. Until the appointed time, Su once again arrived in front of the Divine Tiger sect. This time, all the Divine Tiger sect members knew that the old man in front of them was the ghost poison old man. When they saw Su coming, they were all respectful and reverent. Looking at the person whose legs were half buried in the earth, they called him Senior and Venerable one after another. Su mouth was almost stretched to the back of his head. As soon as he entered the inner room, Shangguan Juehu directly rushed out. Venerable, Juehu has been waiting for a long time. Shinjua is no longer in danger. Venerable is really the supreme poison master, unparalleled in expertise. Su waved his hand, and his figure directly avoided Shangguan Juehu and directly went inside. Sect leader Shangguan, there is no need to be polite. You and I are only related by interest. Hearing this, Shangguan Juehu, who was following closely behind, was slightly taken aback. He quickly said, Yes. This is Everlasting Tiger's black card. There are exactly 106 star primal crystal stone boxes inside. Su took the black card. It was no different from the one that Lan Yelian had given him back then. The black light shone with a luxurious and noble feeling. Sect leader Shangguan is indeed trustworthy. I'll go in and detoxify the last bit of the young sect master's poison. With Shangguan Juehu's black card, Su was in a good mood. He pushed open the door and saw Shangguan Shinjua waiting for him. He sneered in his heart. Shangguan Shinjua, whose complexion was much better than yesterday, hurriedly got up from the bed when he saw Su enter. He looked at Su with a burning gaze, his eyes filled with reverence as he called out loudly, Senior, you're here, Senior. Shangguan Juehu nodded his head in satisfaction. Then he winked at him politely. Zhuan knew that the person who treated him yesterday was Senior Ghost Poison, so he was so excited that he couldn't sleep last night. His complexion is much worse today. Su naturally knew what the father and son were up to. He immediately sat down and took Shangguan Shinjua's pulse without hesitation. In fact, he had already treated most of Shangguan Shinjua's injuries with the help of the demon's subduing illusionary tome yesterday. Today, he wasn't here to treat the poison, but to poison it. Use the heartbroken wasp's poison. It's hidden and extremely powerful. Qi Feihong's voice sounded in Su Yi's mind. The heartbroken wasp was also a type of ancient demonic beast. Cultivators who were attacked by it wouldn't die immediately. Instead, their bodies would be infected with the wasp's poison. The poison and the wasp could sense each other and become a hidden killer move that could kill a person at any time. With a wave of his hand, Su Yi's demon subduing illusionary tome surged again. A desolate and ferocious energy flowed from Su Yi's palm into Shangguan Shinjua's back. The energy from the demon's subduing illusionary tome and the Origin Supreme technique were added together. Su Yi's body seemed to be surrounded by a divine halo, adding to his ferocious aura. Shangguan Juehu, who was watching from the side, couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. The room wasn't very spacious, but it was filled with the sound of wind and thunder, as well as the sound of rolling waves. Not long after, Su stood up and heaved a long sigh of relief. He had just finished treating Shangguan Shinjua's burned meridians and planted the heartbroken wasp's poison in his body. Su Yi's black robe fluttered as he turned to Shangguan Juehu and cupped his fists. Sect Master Shangguan, I've finished my task. Young Sect Master will be able to participate in the second round after resting for a while. Shangguan Juehu's eyes were filled with shock as he glanced at Shangguan Shinjua. Shangguan Shinjua immediately sat up from the bed. His face was flushed red, and he nodded to Shangguan Juehu with great vigor. Shangguan Juehu quickly pulled Su Yi's clothes and said, "Senior, don't worry. You've done such a great favor for my divine tiger sect. How should we repay you?" Under the black robe, Su Yi raised his eyebrows and said, "Sect Master Shangguan has already given me such a great gift. I don't want to owe the divine tiger sect too much." Su Yi's mind was spinning rapidly as he watched Shangguan Juehu pour a cup of tea for Su Yi. "My son is naughty by nature and has many enemies. In the past few years, his talent was extraordinary and he had few rivals. I didn't restrain him, but now there are many geniuses from Heaven Wind. If my son doesn't restrain himself and comes again, my divine tiger sect won't be able to withstand it." Su Yi vaguely guessed Shangguan Juehu's meaning and sat down in panic. Shangguan Shinjua behind him was extremely excited as he bowed to Su Yi. "Senior, if you don't mind, Zhuo would like to acknowledge you as his master." Looking at Shangguan Shinjua's fawning face, Su Yi's heart was filled with disdain and contempt. It turned out that this father and son pair had taken a liking to my poison techniques and wanted to find a backer to prevent any further trouble. Since I'm already here, I'll take it as it comes. Su Yi immediately stood up and slapped Shangguan Juehu's arm and said angrily, "This old man has been in Yu province for nearly 100 years and has never had the thought of accepting a disciple. This old man also doesn't want to be related by blood. Let's forget about this matter." Su Yi pretended to leave, but a plop sound was heard behind him. Shangguan Shinjua directly fell to the ground and kowtowed to Su Yi without caring about his sorry state. The scene in front of him made Su Yi's heart tremble. Shangguan Juehu's eyes were also wet as he said in a low voice, "My late father has passed away for many years, and I have been responsible for all the affairs of the sect. Zhuo has no one to discipline him. Juehu really wants to find someone to discipline him. Senior, please accept me as your disciple. Zhuo can endure any hardship." Su Yi was deeply impressed by the acting of these two people. He couldn't help but take a step forward, and his hands trembled. "You don't say. You look a bit like my old friend's grandson. Unfortunately, he died at such a young age." Hearing this, Shangguan Shinjua became even more excited. He rubbed his knees on the ground and said excitedly, "Grandpa, I will be your grandson from now on. I will replace your beloved grandson. Come, wonderful book house." Chapter 1859. Suddenly, he felt a chill in his heart when he saw the two of them trying to curry favor with him. These two are really capable of doing anything. Qi Feihong also shook his head and sighed. His eyes were full of disdain and helplessness. A dignified upper-class force is like a dog in front of absolute resources. I'm afraid it's the same in front of the Long family. Su Yi sneered in his heart. Since they've sent themselves to me, how could I not accept them? Su Yi slowly walked towards the two as if they were his beloved grandson. His mouth trembled as he said, Good grandson, Juehu, quickly get up." Qi Feihong and the Iron Soulfish both trembled in their hearts and were stunned. This brat was really good at acting. Shangguan Juehu was very excited and said, "Then, you are Zhuo's grandfather. So you are my father." Su Yi felt as if he was choking on a lump of mud in his heart. The shamelessness of this father and son pair had simply refreshed his worldview. Good. I didn't expect that I would meet such a good grandson in my lifetime. Shangguan Shinjua was very excited. He walked back and forth in front of Su Yi and asked about his well-being. He didn't have the slightest doubt about the supreme poison master that Shangguan Juehu had personally invited. In his heart, he had even more thoughts about the second round. The bastard who had almost blown him to smithereens had once again ignited the flames of revenge. "By the way, Zhuo, who hurt you like this?" Su Yi deliberately asked. Shangguan Shinjua was a little sluggish. He paused for a moment and then sat down. With a fierce look in his eyes, he said, "Grandpa, he's just a nobody. I was tricked. If I meet him, I'll make sure he never comes back. He'll die without a burial place." Su Yi looked at Shangguan Shinjua's appearance and felt a chill in his heart. His evil intentions didn't change, but his face was still calm. He said in a low voice, "Grandson, grandfather came out in a hurry. I don't have any treasures to help you. You can have this little divine blade." Su-yi took out the Dharma artifact that Tian Wu had refined that day and handed it to Shangguan Xinjue. Shangguan Xinjue immediately put it away, carefully like it was a precious treasure. "Then I'll go back first." Su-yi waved his hand in satisfaction. Originally, he would not have given the Scarlet Fire Divine Blade to Shangguan Xinjue. However, after seeing Shangguan Xinjue's current state, he knew that he would definitely be prepared for the second round. No matter how bad it was, as long as he had the strength of one of the top two, he would be able to go further. "Father, Grandpa, why don't we let the Divine Tiger sect send you off? Yuzhou is a big place, and we don't know when we'll meet again." Su-yi naturally couldn't expose himself. He sighed softly and concealed a look of regret. He didn't let the two of them see him off. The moment the door closed, he sensed that no one was following him. Then, he flew into the distance and returned to the secret cultivation room of the Demon Slayer sect. "Father, I can finally take revenge this time." Shangguan Xinjue looked at Su-yi's back, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Swoosh! Shangguan Jiahu's eyes darkened, and he looked like a giant tiger that was about to pounce on its prey. He said angrily, "Go back. Su-yi and the Bawang sect, don't let any of them off." After returning to the secret cultivation room, Su-yi calmed his heart and focused his mind. His cultivation gradually entered the best state. The harvest of these 3 days was astonishing. On the way back to the secret cultivation room, Su-yi took the time to go to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. If the Spirit Treasures Pavilion hadn't arranged the plan overnight, it would have been difficult for it to take shape. Now that the Spirit Treasures Pavilion had signed a life and death contract with Tianlanxi City, they naturally had the reason and obligation to help Su-yi enter the third round. Therefore, as long as Su-yi helped Tianlanxi City in the third round, this small favor would be repaid. "How does it feel to look at those heavy 6-star crystal boxes?" Su-yi asked proudly. "Awesome, you brat, doing business and extorting. Fortunately, you're not in charge of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. Otherwise, the entire 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea would be ruthlessly slaughtered by you." Su-yi thought about it. This was a good idea, but it wasn't the focus of his attention now. Then, Su-yi began to cultivate on a pure black stone platform. In the remaining day, Su-yi was determined to refine all the remaining demonic ethereal stage demonic cores. As for the demonic ancestor stage demonic cores, he would cultivate as much as he could. He would leave the crystal boxes for later. When he had time, he would deal with them one by one. Raising his eyes, Su-yi's majestic aura lingered around his body. The vigorous and old energy in the room surged back and forth. Time continued to flow in this dense atmosphere. At the Yuqin Palace, she stood quietly in a moon-white robe, looking out the window with a hint of melancholy. Ever since she heard about the Duanmu Qingtian's whereabouts, Duanmu Xiaoman's crescent brows never relaxed. This scene was seen by Gyue, Long Pasan, and the others, and they were somewhat puzzled. "Did you find Su-yi or not?" Long Pasan scratched his head. These days, there had been no news of Su-yi. There was no movement from the demon-subduing sect, either. The other factions were all carefully preparing for the second round. "I think it's fine. Have you seen Lord Merciless West and the others in these 2 days?" After Gyue's reminder, Long Pasan seemed to think of something. He stroked his snow-white beard, and his broad body trembled slightly. "It's just that I'm worried about the Palace Lord. This is the first time I've seen such melancholy." Gyue's kind face was full of worry. He knew that Duanmu Xiaoman must have received some news from Su-yi. That was why she was so melancholy. Only Su-yi can comfort the Palace Lord. A bunch of old men like us shouldn't blindly make a fuss. Long Pasan laughed. Gyue instantly broke into a smile. He took a deep look at Duanmu Xiaoman and sighed softly. "If that day really comes, even if I have to risk my life, I will protect the Palace Lord." at the demon-subduing sect's Brahma Dragon Celestial Palace. He's out. Draconis was calm and composed. Golden light flowed around him, and his domineering aura was revealed. He looked at the golden dragon wall in front of him as if a god had descended. Dragon claws danced on it as if it were alive. Its aura was extraordinary, and it faintly carried the ambition and pride to rule the world. Yes, I saw him being taken away by the demon-subduing sect. What do you think? Draconis was slightly interested and asked in a low voice. Long Tsong bowed, and his eyes were also filled with arrogance. A kind of arrogance filled his golden eyes. Who cares about his background? In front of me, he's just a speck of dust. Draconis nodded, and then said in a low voice, after you finish participating in the Tianfeng ranking tournament, Father will tell you all the secrets of the Sky Barbarian sect. Song you're already an adult. There are some things that you should know, and only you can do. Not only do you want to be the leader of a sect, but you also want to be the ruler of the world. The ruler of the world. Long Tsong's eyes flickered. To a transcendent genius of a top faction, this was an unimaginable attraction. Come, wonderful book house. Chapter 1860. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye, and no one came to disturb Su Yi's cultivation. When Su Yi opened his eyes again, the divine mythical meridians in his body were filled with a mystical aura. The mighty qi, wind, and thunder seemed to have descended from the 9 heavens. The abundant aura made Su Yi feel refreshed, and his eyes shone brightly. Finally, the great void spirit sea was filled. Su Yi muttered in his heart. When he looked into his mind and focused on the 4th mortal gate, he realized that it was still quiet and showed no signs of loosening. I've refined 32 demonic ethereal stage demonic cores, but it's still not enough. Su Yi shook his head and smiled bitterly. The Iron Soul puppet was lying on the 3rd entrance. He said lazily, feeling pleased with himself, Kid, you still have a long way to go. But to rise 2 levels in half a month, that's already crazy enough. Su Yi knew that he was far from enough. He recalled the confrontation with Long Tsong when he came out from the beast's mouth. That kind of disdain came from the other party's heart. It was not only a battle of mentality, but also a battle of strength. Su Yi slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid qi and moved his limbs. His glowing skin was crystal clear. Su Yi shook his robe and heard the respectful voice of the Scarlet Astral Leopard. Faction leader, Lord Merciless West has been waiting for a long time. Today will be the 2nd round of the competition. Su Yi replied and walked out of the door. Looking at the shocked faces of Merciless West, Green Emperor, and the rest, Su Yi smiled. Big brother, long time no see. Bang! Merciless West threw a wine gourd at Su Yi, who caught it and said seriously, I say, brat, can't you take it easy? Do you think it's fun to make us worry? Su Yi was embarrassed. The illusory fiend cave was indeed filled with danger. He had been pursued several times and was surrounded by danger. He was definitely lucky to be able to come out of the illusory fiend mirage safely. Big brother, I'm fine. Su Yi's heart was filled with warmth, but he still opened the wine pot and took a big gulp. When the spicy taste entered his mouth, he immediately felt refreshed. All right. This brat just came out of seclusion, and you're already lecturing him. It's annoying just listening to it. Impermanence Fairy chimed in. The Green Emperor and the Yin Yang, 2 nether, walked over with heavy gazes. Yang Ming said respectfully, Master, have you encountered any problems? Su Yi shook his head. After some questioning, he learned that the Scarlet Astral Leopard had already told Merciless West and the others everything about the demon-slaying sect. Su Yi glanced at the Scarlet Astral Leopard. The Scarlet Astral Leopard tactfully walked away. Su Yi lowered his voice and said, Yang Ming, from today onwards, I will send a trusted aide to the Demon Slayer sect. After the Great Meeting, the Belong sect will rapidly expand and merge with the Demon Slayer sect. You will stand guard here for me. Yang Ming raised his head and looked at the Green Emperor and Yin Ming. He knew that Su Yi did not want them to take the position because he did not want to break up the couple. Yang Ming immediately bowed respectfully, but Su Yi stopped him and said, "Hey, don't be so polite. The demon-slaying sect is extremely beneficial to the cultivation of the demon-slaying sect. If the Green Emperor and the others are willing, you can also stay here." Merciless West swayed. Her face flushed, but her eyes were clear and deep. "Brat, the demon-slaying sect might not be reliable. This demon-slaying sect has at least a few thousand years of history. How could it change hands overnight?" Impermanence Fairy also expressed the same concern. Sui nodded and raised his eyebrows. Sui naturally knew whether the Scarlet Astral Leopard and Qi Dongjue were sincere in submitting to him. However, when Sui found out about the relationship between the demon-slaying sect and the Tian Yao school, it was impossible for him to abandon them even if he wanted to. He would just treat it as finding a place for Shangwan Shiwei and the others to hide. After the competition in Kanglan City, Sui had to make a trip back. Even if the demon-slaying sect could not be changed, it had to be changed. Moreover, Qi Feihong was still in his own mysterious space. "Scarlet Astral Leopard," Sui shouted. The Scarlet Astral Leopard pushed the door open and entered. His eyes were full of reverence as he said respectfully, "Faction leader, I have already arranged a special passage for everyone to go directly to the venue." Sui nodded in satisfaction. He, in Merciless West, turned into spots of light and quickly disappeared into the passage. During the process, Sui roughly understood the process of the day. First, the organizers would reward the 800 disciples on the Heaven Sublime list. Then, they would start the second round of the Tianfeng ranking tournament. As for the rules, Sui did not ask in detail. He would deal with whatever came his way. Even if it did not work out, there was still Shangwan Xinjue. The venue was changed to a more spacious plaza. After passing through the passage arranged by the Scarlet Astral Leopard and the others, Sui stood directly on top of the mountain. One could only imagine what kind of scene it would be when he appeared in front of everyone again. Looking at the panoramic view from a bird's-eye view, there was a huge battle platform in the plaza. It looked like a terrifying beast statue that was guarding the demon-slaying sect. "Are we going to fight here today?" Sui raised his eyebrows. The area below was divided according to the various forces that had already entered the competition. However, the area restrictions were very strict, and there were not many seats. Many of the elders and experts were definitely not allowed to enter. On top of the battle platform, there were 5 symbolic reliefs. They were flames, waves, divine swords, floating clouds, and a golden dragon. It was obvious that these were the positions of the 5 aristocratic families. No matter where they went, the 5 aristocratic families would become the focus of attention. There was a sea of people below, and the clamor was blazing. "Have you seen that Sui in the past 2 days?" a first-rate expert asked. At the mention of Sui, everyone's gaze gradually drifted to the heavenly palace and the heavenly wind jade wall that was erected high above. This heavenly wind jade wall was placed here by the demon-slaying sect with the approval of the 5 aristocratic families. According to the rules, the winner of the second round would directly appear on the heavenly wind jade wall. Moreover, it would remain for 60 years and be revered by tens of thousands of people. Its good name would spread throughout the 6 continents and 3 continents. If that Sui really has the strength, then so be it. But if he doesn't, we'll beat him until his soul scatters. We still haven't seen anyone from the Bawang sect. I wonder if that Sui is really dead. It's good that he's dead. Saves me from wasting my energy. The demon-slaying sect and the 5 aristocratic families did not come out to give a reasonable explanation for Sui's inexplicable second place in the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament. Many of the new 8 Reverends list cultivators were filled with righteous indignation. In their hearts, Sui was a despicable person who relied on women and did not have any true strength. He only knew how to take advantage of opportunities. If you can beat Shangwan Xinjue to such a miserable state, I'll admit defeat. Jun Haoyan's eyes flickered, and a fierce soul pressure suddenly rose. The cultivators present were all shocked. The facts in front of them made it impossible for them to not believe it. Shangguan Xinjue was indeed heavily injured by Su Yi, who here had the ability to do so. Chapter 1861. Who knows if he has any tricks up his sleeves? A cultivator in the crowd gritted his teeth and shouted in a deep voice. His face was ashen as he met Jun Haoyan's knife-like gaze. With regards to Su Yi's actions, most of the cultivators harbored a grudge in their hearts. They all wanted to defeat Su Yi in front of everyone and show off their might in heavenly wind. Who are you? Jun Haoyan looked indifferent as he crossed his arms and looked at the first person to speak up. Boundless World, young island master of Broken Soul Island, Sikong Shaw, 72nd on the 8 reverends list. Jun Haoyan said with an indescribable look in his eyes. If you're not convinced, then please be the first to challenge Su Yi. Jun Haoyan said coldly. He didn't say anything unnecessary to the 72 people. He knew very well that Su Yi's strength was real, and if it wasn't for the fact that the upper echelons were always in cahoots, he wouldn't have been able to do anything. If Su Yi had gone all out, how could Tyrant C3 Enlightened Ones get first place? The sun hung high in the sky, and a 5-colored golden rainbow sprinkled down from the sky, following the not-so-dazzling sunlight. He could vaguely see 2 familiar figures slowly walking in from the passageway. In the second round of the Battle of Tianfeng, Sky Dragon Sect and Holy Mountain still had the advantage. They had more people than the first-rate forces. Tyrant C3 Enlightened is here. His aura seems to be stronger than before. These 2 days, Sky Dragon Sect is going all out. Look, Yuchi Changfeng isn't bad either. Their auras are on par with each other. There's going to be a good show. It's a pity for Shangguan Xinjue. These 3+ that strange suit, I thought I could see a good show with my own eyes. There were more and more cultivators gathered. There weren't many experts from the sects, so the discussion was more carefree. Dong, dong, dong. Is it the Divine Tiger sect? Am I seeing things? Hearing such a voice, shock flashed in the eyes of the cultivators from Sky Dragon sect. Everyone's eyes also shot to the other side of the tunnel. They were all dressed in white soft armor. The leader was domineering and unruly. Compared to before, he looked even more arrogant. Who else could it be other than Shangguan Xinjue? Wasn't he crippled by Su Yi? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. His aura has become even stronger. Jun Haoyan was also puzzled. He rubbed his chin and looked at Shangguan Xinjue. Shangguan Xinjue's aura was steady and strong. He didn't seem to be injured at all. Even the peerless Yutian Palace wouldn't be able to heal someone to this level in such a short time. It seemed that the Divine Tiger sect had spent a lot of effort to find a peerless expert. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyan's eyes darkened. The Duanmu Xiaoman in front of him remained motionless like an ice sculpture. Her skirt fluttered in the wind as the Duanmu Xiaoman shifted her gaze. Everyone's eyes trembled at the same time. A green silhouette slowly appeared behind him. There was no wind behind him, and his aura was extraordinary. A cool breeze blew past the corner of his eyebrows, and his black hair fluttered in the wind. His deep and bright pupils emitted an extremely sharp light. Su Yi, he's still alive. Mu Yao and Ryugan River at the Shunjian gate exclaimed at the same time. Their eyes were filled with excitement as they shouted. He's actually still alive. This brat is really lucky. Even the illusory demon cave didn't kill him. Su Yi slowly walked into the venue. Jun Haoyan quickly went up to him and said loudly with a smile in his eyes, "Ha ha, I knew that you weren't dead. Isn't that brat fine too?" Su Yi didn't avoid his gaze at all as he stared at the group of angry people. Shangguan Juehu and Shangguan Xinjue were like demonic beasts on a rampage. Their eyes were bloodshot and their veins were bulging. If they hadn't been held back by the elders, they would have pounced on Su Yi and torn him apart. Feeling the sharp gazes around him, some were curious, some were observing, some were disdainful, and some were jealous. He walked to Duanmu Xiaoman's side, causing countless cultivators to be jealous. They wanted to kill Su Yi at any moment. Yesterday, You called me father, and today you want to kill me. How desolate. Su Yi's regretful expression attracted Duanmu Xiaoman's attention. But looking at Shangwan Juehu's murderous look, Duanmu Xiaoman naturally knew what had happened. Silence. At this time, an old man's voice resounded throughout the venue. It was no longer the old man from the first round, but an even older elder. His face was full of wrinkles, and his old skin was covered with old scaly markings. His eyes were dim, but there was a trace of majestic soul energy hidden in them. Even Qi Bifeng, that old man, is here. Looks like the demon-subduing sect is really taking this seriously. Qi Feihong's eyes flickered, and he laughed softly. Qi Bifeng's body was bent, and he coughed violently. His bright yellow teeth were exposed, and he bowed deeply to the 5 aristocratic families behind him. The 5 aristocratic family heads, except for Draconis, stood up at the same time and bowed. Su Yi was a little unhappy when he saw this. Ignoring the murderous aura behind Draconis, Su Yi listened carefully to the following words. Congratulations to all of you for becoming heroes for the next 60 years. From today onwards, you will be the mainstay of the Sky Barbarian continent. I hope you can imitate the aristocratic families and protect the Sky Barbarian continent. Yes, the crowd was in high spirits, and the 2 short sentences filled every cultivator's face with endless glory. Their chests were puffed out, and their chins were shining brightly. After the second round begins, please send representatives to the demon-subduing sect to receive the corresponding rewards. This year's reward is 1 soul-cleansing pill for each person. The top 3 will receive 6 pills for pills and 2 pills respectively. The soul-cleansing pill was an earth-grade high-tier pill. It could cleanse the soul, strengthen the muscles and bones, and increase the power of the soul. The refinement process was unimaginably complicated. For cultivators of the Origin Emperor realm and above, it could help strengthen the soul while cultivating. It had the excellent effect of half the effort, and it had always been priceless. Below the heaven-grade pills, it was definitely a godly pill. Ordinary first-rate forces that could refine one would already treat it as a treasure. Unless one was a rare genius, they would definitely not use it casually. This extravagance, how is it possible? Jun Haoyan and Su Yi looked at each other, their eyes filled with disbelief. Taking out more than 800 Earth-grade high-tier pills at the same time was something that even the Sacred Mountain and Sky Dragon sect could not do. As the sect leader, Su Yi was well aware of the strength of the demon-subduing sect. Wow! Everyone was shocked, and their eyes were dazed. After a long time, they still could not wake up, as if they were in a dream. Qi Bifeng had long expected such an outcome. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, forming a deep wrinkle. Everyone, there's no need to be surprised. There's an even better news that this old man would like to announce. The third round of the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament will be chosen by each of the 5 aristocratic families. They will enter the 10 Jade Pavilion together with the top 5 of the 100 heroes' divine children to cultivate. With the help of the aristocratic families, this Heavenly Wind ranking tournament is destined to go down in history. Chapter 1862. As soon as he finished speaking, many cultivators' legs went soft. This kind of benefit was extremely rare. Although the number of people entering the Heavenly Wind 10 Jade building had decreased from 10 to 5. The second round would naturally be more intense, but to be able to cultivate side by side with these geniuses of the aristocratic families. If they could get a little bit of guidance, or the favor of a certain aristocratic family's genius. In the future, if they wanted to soar in the entire Tian Barbarian continent, it would be easy. This was a great opportunity that was hard to come by in 60 years. No, 60 years. Qilao, is it true? Without waiting for the young cultivators to ask, many sect leaders and experts could no longer suppress the excitement in their hearts. Their faces were red as they looked at the stooped figure on the stage. Unable to contain the excitement in their hearts, everyone's eyes were blazing. Their eyes were wide open with desire. They all hoped that Chiemo Fong could repeat what he said just now. What you heard just now is all true. This time, all the soul-cleansing pills will be provided by the aristocratic families. As for why this is so, boom, Chiemo Feng's long robe fluttered. Traces of fierce killing intent flashed in his dim yellow eyes. Suddenly, the entire space trembled violently as if it was about to collapse. A dragon-like ray of light leaped up high on the stage. Everyone's eyes were filled with complex emotions. Their gazes seemed to be fixed on it. Within the ray of light, a tall building that emitted a mysterious light was faintly discernible. It was like a loft where immortals lived. It was as tall as the clouds and dazzling with divine light. The distance between each floor was extremely large. On top of it were carved beams and painted rafters, flying tiles, and colored glass. It had an extraordinary aura. There was a trace of strangeness in the mysterious light. The layers of light overlapped like divine rings interweaving. The light at the top of the building was dazzling. It was as if there was a dazzling sun shining on top of it. Looking at it for a long time, it was easy to sink into it. The energy of heaven and earth surged, directly pushing away the surrounding space. Su-Yi could instantly feel the mysterious space tremble. His gaze trembled as if a great force was crushing down on him. His gaze shifted to the people beside him. Their faces were all pale as they looked at the huge building that rose from the ground. It crossed the space and appeared like a dragon raising its head. Such a huge building was obviously not on the same plane as the space where Su-Yi and the others were. It was not close yet. Just that terrifying destructive power alone was enough to shock everyone present. Their eyes flickered with disbelief. Boom! In an instant, another earth-shattering sound rang out. The demonic light once again covered the sky and filled the sky with a monstrous pressure. When the building disappeared, everyone's eyes quickly dimmed. Qi Lufeng let out a long sigh of relief. His face was also somewhat pale because he had used too much essence. His footsteps staggered and he was about to fall. After pausing for a moment, Qi Bifeng shook his head and said in a clear voice, "As everyone can see, the 10 Jade Pavilion appeared much earlier than the aristocratic families predicted. Therefore, we will decide the top 100 as soon as possible in the second round, and the top 100 will be able to enter the 100 Heroes Palace directly to receive gifts." After finishing his words, Qi Bifeng bowed deeply towards the noble family behind him and said with a deep voice, "On behalf of all Heaven Barbarian warriors, I thank the noble family. In order to ensure the safety of these talents, we have specially selected 5 of them to enter together." The people from the 5 noble families nodded at the same time. The eyes of the young disciples behind them flickered. "Thank you, noble family, for your pity. Thank you, noble family, for your pity." Like a tsunami, these words tore out from everyone's throats. Their eyes towards the noble families were filled with respect and yearning. Countless sect leaders and experts also had respect in their eyes. Some of them even had tears in their eyes. Su-Yi's gaze immediately darkened after hearing Qi Mofeng's short words. Could the 10 Jade Pavilion's early appearance have something to do with Duanmu, Qingtian's disappearance? His gaze shot towards Duanmu Xiaoman beside him. Her jade-like hands trembled slightly. Su-Yi couldn't help but stand closer to her. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly. Su-Yi's smile was like a spring breeze that moistened Duanmu Xiaoman's 1,000-year ice heart. Yin Rudin and Duanmu Xiaoman both looked towards the battle stage. The figure on the stage took a profound step and shouted loudly. Immediately, his hand rose and fell. In less than half a breath's time, the battle stage emitted several hundred terrifying rays of light that pierced through the clouds. The heavens shook and the earth shook. Just as Qi Meifeng's black palm was pushed out, the entire plaza began to shake violently. Tiny cracks spread out like a spider's web. The battle stage surged, and the terrifying sound of springs was like the wailing of 100 ghosts. The heavy sound was like a huge rock pressing down on countless people's eyes. Duanmu Xiaoman's moon robe fluttered lightly in the wind. Her jade-like body swayed in the wind, and the surrounding martial artists all looked at Su Yi with envy. In a split second, the entire battle stage was divided into 400 small battle stages. Heavenly music rumbled, and incomparably heavy sound waves rolled back and forth in the air. Qi Meifeng took a step forward and pointed at the 400 smaller stages behind him. The second round will be divided into 3 rounds. The top 400 will be decided. The top 200 and the top 100. Those who have received the same number, please prepare at the same stage. As soon as he finished speaking, the 400 experts from the demon subduing sect all stood near the battle stage. Their solemn eyes were filled with a bright light. An awe-inspiring aura surged out like waves, and they looked arrogantly at the contestants who had yet to enter. With these experts from the demon subduing sect as judges, they could ensure the fairness of every stage in the second round of the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament. Of course, if you feel that the difficulty of the matchmaking is too low, everyone will have a chance to choose again. You can directly exchange numbers with the battle stage of the contestant you wish to fight. However, it must be based on the ranking of the first round of the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament. Everyone nodded. The first round of the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament was filled with many grudges and uncontrollable factors. The martial artists were all waiting for the second round to wipe away their humiliation. However, according to the principle of exchanging numbers, the final contestant had to be ranked higher than the previous contestant. Everything was ready. When the martial artists received their numbers, their footsteps were light, and they were like flowing lights. Colorful, high-spirited, and filled with lofty aspirations, they charged towards their respective battle stages. Pung-pung. It was as if a rain of stones had fallen from the sky, and countless powerful figures landed heavily on the battle stages. They stretched their limbs, waiting for the order to be given. Su Yi looked at the number he had drawn. It was number 35, and Jun Haoyan beside him had number 47. The two looked at each other and smiled. Stepping lightly behind him, he bent his knees slightly, and a strange arc appeared in the air as he charged towards his own battle stage. He landed firmly on his battle platform and looked around. There were hundreds of small battle platforms, each isolated by a light shield. When he entered the battle stage, the space inside expanded rapidly. Closing his eyes, he could feel that the battle stage was not much smaller than before. Chapter 1863. As for the spectators standing outside, it seemed like all 400 stages were of the same size. Su Yi sized up his surroundings. The people from the upper echelon forces were scattered on different stages and were far apart from each other. Liu Ruoxi was on stage 11, Han Yuro was on stage 76, and Xiaohong House was on stage 48. Su Yi raised his chin and sized up the martial artist opposite him. Su Yi could clearly see the tall figure. It was a burly man in his 30s. His muscles were glowing with a metallic luster and were very eye-catching. His body was well-built, and his gaze was as sharp as a knife. The aura emitted from his body was extremely ferocious. The unparalleled pressure made people tremble in fear as soon as they got close to him. A gilded long saber was propped on the ground. The burly man's eyes were wide open as he stared at Su Yi. A sinister smile appeared on his face. It was as if he was looking at a prey that was already in his mouth. He was extremely excited. 4th level of the Origin Emperor realm. Su Yi muttered and nodded, just as he was about to circulate the Origin Supreme technique. He realized that the burly man's gaze had already skipped over Su Yi and was looking behind him. Behind Su Yi, a few well-dressed youths were whispering to each other. During this time, they kept glancing at Su Yi. Big brother Cheng Shuang, please exchange stages with me. Sikong Shua, who was arguing with Jun Haoyan, shouted towards the stage. Pure Yuan Qi suddenly erupted. The Yuan Qi under his feet rose abruptly. Under the gaze of the crowd, he was like a divine bird that rapidly grew taller. Why should I exchange with you? The person called Cheng Shuang exuded coldness from his eyes. His brows were furrowed like mountains and rivers. Look, look, isn't that Sikong Shua? He has some guts. He actually challenged Su Yi first. Haha, now we can see if Su Yi is really capable. On the nearby stages, everyone was waiting for the final contestant to be confirmed. Now was the preparation period before the start of the competition. Once they heard the commotion, they all looked towards Sikong Shua. Suddenly being noticed by so many people, Sikong Shua, a first-rate force, felt like he was floating in the air. If you trade with me, you'll only win. Don't tell me you can't calculate this deal? Indeed, the final ranking of the first round largely determined one's strength. According to the principle of swapping for someone with a higher cultivation level than someone with a lower cultivation level, the person who was swapped could only fight against someone with a lower cultivation level. In terms of strength, they would have a huge advantage. Cheng Shuang shook his head and waved the golden saber in his hand. I won't let anyone have this little guy. I don't need you to give me a chance. Killing intent flashed in Sikong Shua's eyes. His face turned green and purple. The time was almost up. After a long discussion, Sikong Shua did not know if he would meet Su Yi again. He did not want Su Yi to be in the limelight again. You'd better go back. In the next round, you will switch with someone else. Cheng Shuang K's face was solemn. The sound waves blasted out, causing pain to the eardrums of those who were slightly weaker. Taking a deep breath, Sikong Shua let out a long sigh and was about to turn back. Su Yi turned his body and faced the stage. His eyes were cold, and his hands were crossed in front of his chest. His cold eyes carried a chilling intent that penetrated one's heart. He sneered in his heart. So many people wanted to see him make a fool of himself. Everyone wanted to be in the limelight. Everyone wanted to pick up a pushover. Since all of you are so eager to die, then come at me together. Su Yi was neither cold nor warm as he tossed out these words. Sikong Shua and Cheng Shuang narrowed their eyes at the same time. Sikong Shua's strength was at the third level of the Origin Emperor realm. The two of them combined were far stronger than Su Yi, who was at the second level of the Origin Emperor realm. Brat, don't be arrogant. I alone am enough to deal with you. Cheng Shuang's eyes glowed. He took a step forward, causing the entire stage to shake slightly. Sikong Shua's hair stood on end as well. He raised his eyebrows and looked at Su Yi strangely. He and Cheng Shuang were still arguing about who should deal with Su Yi. Who would have thought that Su Yi didn't put anyone in his eyes and actually asked them to fight together? Arrogant. This brat is courting death. He's really used to being in the limelight. He still wants to be in the limelight in the second round. I think he knows that he can't beat Cheng Shuang, so he purposely found two people to fight. Even if he loses, he won't lose face. Countless martial artists were discussing animatedly. They raised their hands to indicate that they wanted to choose another opponent. Su Yi's ruthless words caused a commotion among the group of Heaven's Prides. Su Yi shook his head casually. His indifferent look attracted the attention of the 5 aristocratic families. Su Chun and Su Wan were both shocked. Su Wan who was standing behind Yin Zhongli, shook her wrist. Her eyes were filled with concern as they locked onto Su Yi. She didn't want to leave at all. Good. This is the Su Yi I know. Although Su Chun didn't make a sound, the light in his eyes revealed the pride in his body like an erupting volcano. Stinking brat, the ignorant are fearless. Dugi Yuma's eyes were still closed. His eyelashes fluttered slightly like a fan, and the corner of his mouth outlined a trace of contempt. Quiet. He waved his hand and looked over. Chi Mofeng stepped on his profound handle and gently waved his dry hands in front of him. Suddenly, a huge and terrifying soul pressure suppressed everyone present. Chi Mofeng's respectful gaze glanced at Su Yi under the Long family signal and said in a deep voice, Sect Master Su, are you sure you want to challenge both of them at the same time? Su Yi's green robe was slightly exposed. His tall muscles emitted a charming charm under the sunlight. He smiled and said, That's right. They want to end it quickly. Can't I fulfill their wish? As soon as his voice fell, A vigorous surge of vitality rushed into Su Yi's meridians like a rocket. His tightly clenched palm was like clamping onto a 10,000-kilogram boulder. The terrifying strength was about to burst out in an instant. Woo-woo! The soul pressure spread out, and the oppressive air in front of him let out a dull sound. Chi Mofeng nodded heavily. His dry lips trembled again and said, "If you want to challenge both of them, according to the rules, Sikong Shua's opponent will be alone. You have to challenge all three of them at the same time. If you lose, all three of them will advance at the same time. Are you willing?" Suddenly, not only the contestants, even the sect master experts looked at Sikong Shua's battle stage. There was also a third-level Origin Emperor expert on it, a fourth-level Origin Emperor, and two third-level Origin Emperors against a second-level Origin Emperor. Sure, then let's start quickly. Su Yi's eyes flickered. Dense, killing intent flashed across his pitch-black eyes. This sentence was like a cannonball that smashed into the hearts of everyone present. Su Yi's contempt had completely infuriated the three of them. Everyone present was an invincible figure in the younger generation of the sect. When had they ever suffered such humiliation? Calm. Wonderful bookhouse. Chapter 1864. Amidst the endless curses and mocking laughter, the three contestants stood in front of Su Yi at the same time. "Brat, do I admit that you're stupid or courageous?" Sikong Shua emitted a chilling aura as the long sword in his hand formed a snow-silver sword flower. Suddenly, a huge wave rolled behind him. The sweet and fishy sea breeze brought with it an unparalleled wind and waves, forming a huge soul pressure that crushed toward Su Yi. Zong! The golden saber smashed deeply into the ground. Cheng Shuang's broad waist lowered his shoulders, and his bronze skin emitted a crackling sound like a cannonball. It was an impressive and indescribable sight. "Brat, don't blame us for bullying you. You asked for it." Cheng Shuang roared like a demonic beast, which made people tremble in fear. The third contestant, who was inexplicably implicated, had a thirst for blood in his long and narrow eyes. He spat out his red tongue like a venomous snake. It was as if he was bound to win this duel. It was all thanks to Su Yi's stupid decision. "Brat, show me your weapon. Otherwise, leave your hands and feet behind." The sinister and arrogant voice was like sandpaper, causing everyone's eardrums to buzz. Some of the sect masters felt a chill in their hearts, but the people from Yutian Palace and Bawang sect were calm and natural. It was as if Su Yi was already used to a 1-on-3 situation. Su Yi smiled indifferently. He estimated that those who could enter the 8 reverends list were not ordinary people. Su Yi could feel the powerful pressure and killing intent from the 3 contestants. However, all of this was like dust in front of Su Yi, who was at the 6th level of the Origin Emperor realm. Without using the Origin Supreme technique, Su Yi's soul spirit spread out, and the scene in front of his eyes became clear again. Stopping his footsteps, Su Yi's eyes were obviously flickering with faint flames. Unarmed and unarmed, he gestured to the 3 contestants to start the duel. The hidden coldness made the 3 of them feel even more humiliated. They only heard a loud bang. The 3 of them leaped high into the air and displayed their talents. Their origin chi radiance was like a waterfall, oppressing the space and greeting Su Yi's body. Su Yi's jade-like fingers slapped down vertically, and the wings behind his back condensed, turning into a ball of fire in the air. Like a ghost, he shuttled back and forth between the 3 without any warning. "Come on, cut the crap." Su Yi curled his lips and shouted in his heart. This time, Su Yi wanted to thoroughly establish his might, especially in front of these aristocratic families. The moment he soared into the sky, the wings behind Su Yi's back flapped like lightning. Su Yi and Long Tsang looked at each other, and their lips curled up. Then, it disappeared again. Boom! What? He's gone. The 3 contestants were shocked. Where did he go? Cheng Shuang roared with a trace of fear in his fierce eyes. Su Yi's speed was simply beyond their imagination. In just an instant, He had disappeared above the void. The other two contestants brandished their weapons continuously, forming a fine sword wall. They were frantically trying to sense Su Yi's location. All of this was clearly seen by the sect masters outside. Su Yi was just less than an inch behind them, but the three of them couldn't sense him. The experts' eyes were solemn as they pointed at what was happening inside and started to discuss. Everyone's expression wasn't good. Impossible. Su Yi's speed is definitely not at the second level of the Origin Emperor realm. Could this brat have been hiding his strength all along? At this moment, the other duels had already begun. However, it was obvious that Su Yi had become the focus of the first duel. Under the Origin Qi light rain that filled the sky, the colorful sword Qi was like a rainbow. In the distance, the floating clouds were surging. Below them, the Origin Qi bombarded. The Origin Qi that was constantly released was shocking, and the void was trembling. A sect master expert roared and pointed at Su Yi's duel and said, "Su Yi is there. Not good. The three of them are in trouble." The faces of the experts from the three sects turned ashen. They originally thought that they would win the duel, but suddenly, the situation changed, and the situation changed. Swish! Countless spectating experts were shocked at the same time. In the depths of their pupils, there was an azure figure that was rapidly rotating between the three of them. Su Yi's palms moved continuously. He revealed a faint wry smile and said, "Too weak. With your strength, you shouldn't have challenged me." As soon as his voice faded, Su Yi pushed out a majestic Tao connotation of heaven and earth. The vigorous energy was like the waves of a great river. The palm prints that filled the sky swept across the sky and slapped on the backs of the three of them like lightning. Three muffled sounds of bones breaking could be heard in the void. In the next second, the three of them fell to the ground like cannonballs. The two participants at the third level of the Origin Emperor realm were pale. Their eyes rolled back as they fainted. Chang Shuang, who was at the fourth level of the Origin Emperor realm, shook his dizzy head and immediately spat out another mouthful of blood. His face turned even paler. His gaze changed greatly, and his aura was extremely weak. His eyes were covered with blood and couldn't see anything. The golden saber in his hand was dancing wildly. The golden force filled the void like a chain of cannonballs. The space in front of him was cracking inch by inch. The ripples were spreading everywhere. It was extremely terrifying. Instant kill. Su Yi instantly killed 3 Origin Emperor Realm experts. How did he do it? Why didn't I see him using any martial skills? The eyes of some experts and elders were filled with radiance. The shock that they hadn't felt for a long time flashed across their eyes. The surrounding battles were still going on intensely, but Su Yi's side had already ended the battle of the 3 in an extremely strange way. How could this not make people excited? Excited. Shocked. Countless pairs of astonished eyes scanned back and forth on Su Yi's body. Then, like a boiling pot, they started to discuss the battle just now. Hurry up and find out who Su Yi is. What is Su Yi's cultivation level? He is definitely hiding his strength. He must have used some strange martial skills or concealed weapons to launch a sneak attack. Among the spectators, some of them couldn't believe what they were seeing. They were using all kinds of excuses to explain what had just happened. On the stage, Su Yi's body was erupting with energy. The boundless energy waves were like surging waves. An ancient force seemed to have crossed the river of time. It was extraordinary. After landing slowly, Su Yi's long robe fluttered behind him. Once again, he displayed lightning speed. With a flying kick, he kicked Chang Shuang to the side. Bang! Chang Shuang's huge and thick body landed heavily on the ground. Looking at the bloody body that was emitting an endless amount of energy, everyone came to their senses. Su Yi really had the strength. Moreover, he had the absolute strength that was comparable to dominating Si Santong and Yuchi Changfeng. So strong. At the same time, the heaven-defying instant kill made the surrounding fighting stages stop. Their eyes were looking at Su Yi, who was like a killing god, as though they had seen a ghost. Calm. Wonderful book house. Chapter 1865. In the distance, He was cleaning up the stage. With 2 more kicks, the other 2 cultivators fell off the stage like birds with broken wings. From afar, He stood with his hands behind his back. At this moment, he was surrounded by a divine halo. His eyes were filled with arrogance. "Good," Suchin exclaimed and gave Sui a thumbs up. Under the purple veil, her jade-like nose twitched. Her bright eyes flickered with starlight. The corners of her mouth curled up, causing the veil to flutter. Suwana nodded. The big brother Sui in her heart had never changed. The big brother Sui, who had once said that he would protect her and not let anyone bully her, was standing right in front of her. Her soft and delicate hands were like white jade. When she raised them into the air, her eyebrows curved slightly. Her eyes dimmed, but she lowered them again. Her delicate body moved slightly under the tight clothes to hide her anxiety and hesitation. Lon Balian saw the actions of Su Chun and Su Wanner. Her hair was messy, and her eyebrows were long and delicate. The corners of her slender eyes revealed a hint of undetectable meaning. She met Su Yi's gaze across the air and smiled. This time, Lon Balian had made the right bet. Surprise flashed through her eyes. Lon Balian knew that Sui had the strength to compete with any genius of the aristocratic families. However, all of this had happened too quickly. Too quickly. That time in the barbaric demon forest had been exchanged for such a big surprise. "Good brat. Your cultivation is not bad." Yimya Tion slapped his thigh. In a short period of time, Sui had defeated 3 cultivators. What kind of heroic spirit was this? Sui stood proudly, facing Draconis and Long Tsong. Draconis's eyes shone with a bright light. Long Tsong's killing intent was so strong that it was burning hot. His blood and chi surged as if it had materialized outside Long Tsong's skin. From afar, it was as if there were several roaring golden dragons that were about to fly out. The pressure of the entire world instantly became gloomy. The unparalleled power was like rolling thunder. Sui took a step back, and the heavenly origin demon soul in his body surged to its limit. Like a volcano on the verge of erupting, the blazing scarlet opened its bloody mouth, igniting the berserk factor in every meridian in an instant. On the 35th platform, Sui defeated 3 opponents by himself. Victory! The last word was like thunder in spring, throwing a huge rock into the hearts of countless people, making their scalps tingle. What was even more unbearable was the anxious martial artists at the side. At this level, even if one could jump ranks, others could also do the same. Victory and defeat were often decided in an instant. A 2nd-level Origin Emperor might not be much weaker than a 3rd-level Origin Emperor. Just a small mistake could easily cause one to fall into a life and death situation. The 3 martial artists were quickly dragged off the platform by the people from the demon subduing sect. A trail of blood formed on the ground, and the martial artists were already unconscious. Dozens of sharp gazes shot from the mud-like bodies onto Sui. A few roars shattered the clouds above their heads, turning them into mist and dissipating. Sui, although it was 1 against 3 on the platform, how could you humiliate my sect's disciples like this? A muscular man with a broad head and a wide back was filled with boundless anger. His eyes were filled with boundless anger, and he condensed his yuan qi behind him, wanting to rush up the platform to argue. The 3 people just now were the future pillars of their respective sections. They had always been the treasures in the hearts of experts and elders. It was fine if they lost, but how could they withstand such humiliation? Sui's 3 kicks were like kicking trash, cleaning up the battlefield. Sui shrugged his shoulders and sat down. His eyes were filled with coldness as he spoke in a low voice. 1 against 3, I don't think they rejected it. If the one who lost was me, do you think I would still be alive? A penetrating coldness could not be dispelled from his eyes. The 3 people just now had all used their killing moves from the very beginning. Everyone had seen it with their own eyes. Seeing the strange gazes from the surrounding experts, Broken Soul Island could only leave in embarrassment, flicking his sleeves and leaving. If anyone is unconvinced, I, Su Yi, will be waiting here. If I lose, I will also withdraw. Hiss. This sentence caused the eyes of many first-rate forces to constrict. This Su Yi was too arrogant. Little bastard, you still dare to be so arrogant in the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament. The sacred fire elder's beard flew up. Su Yi's arrogance immediately reminded him of the humiliation he had suffered in the sacred martial assembly. His eyes flashed, and he gritted his teeth. Su Yi looked around, his chin raised high. When it was time to perform, he should perform. When it was time to be arrogant, he should be arrogant. What's more, Su Yi didn't believe that the Long family would intervene and resolve the matter if he openly challenged them. Su Yi had never guessed the purpose of the Long family's visit. Su Yi's arrogance naturally had a purpose. This was to test the Long family. Su Yi's eyes had never left Long Tsang from the beginning to the end. Su Yi smiled and stood with his hands behind his back. He was like a young human emperor, looking down at the world with disdain. I want to see how long you can endure. Long family. When Su Yi's gaze fell on the Lord's face again, the corner of his eyes slightly twitched. Soon, he quietly looked away. Sacred Mountain, after Heavenly Wind, I will definitely go to your Sacred Mountain. Whether I live or die, it is up to you. This brat, the elders shouldn't have made him their enemy. The holy senior's watery eyes revealed a sense of profoundness. His subtle gaze shifted towards Duanmu Xiaoman, whose eyebrows were icy cold. Her eyes filled with splendor, and he sighed inwardly. How far can he go for you? Curiously, the heavenly goddess, who had always looked down on all men in the world, frowned for the man in front of her. The Lord could not help but be more curious about Su Yi. My lord, this brat must die. Sheng He rolled up his sleeves. His fluttering hair looked like it was on fire. The entire atmosphere began to heat up. Are you asking Yuqi Changfeng to attack Su Yi again? 1 against 3. It's not like he has never done it before. The Lord did not hold a grudge against Yuqi Changfeng for what had happened in the Demon Cave. The Holy Mountain, which had always been high and mighty, had become a vassal of the Divine Tiger Clan and the Sky Dragon sect when it was in the hands of Yuqi and Sheng He. A few short sneers made Sheng He's face turn red. He did not say anything else. Qi Xiefeng walked to Su Yi, bowed respectfully, and said loudly. Qi Xiefeng did not know what the Qi Xiefeng said to him. Sect leader Su, if you don't have anyone to challenge, you can come down and rest. The competition to advance from 400 to 200 will begin soon. Hearing the words sect leader Su Yi's eyes lit up. He jumped down from the fighting stage and returned to the Bawang sect and Heavenly Palace's camp. Brat, you did well. You're crazy. Merciless West patted Su Yi's shoulder heavily. The goal of this Tianfeng ranking tournament was to let the Bawang sect quickly reach the top and increase their strength rapidly. Wuchang Fairy, Green Emperor, and the others believed that Su Yi, who no longer held back, would definitely shock the world and soar to the top. The Bawang sect would completely walk out of the Chaos region and become the strongest force in the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean. The Bawang sect would never be afraid of the aristocratic families. Destroy the Sacred Mountain first, then find the Long family. Finally, it was time to settle the scores. Su Yi crossed his arms and warmed them up a little. Then, he looked at the other fighting stages. Chapter 1866. Su Yi's instant kill made the martial artists on the other stages work even harder. Sounds of Yuan Qi tearing through the void could be heard everywhere. Woo, woo. The air was torn apart, and the sounds of metal clashing could be heard. 700 to 800 gusts of wind carried the energy of heaven and earth and shook everyone's heart. Seeing the geniuses from their own sects fighting on the stages, the various sect masters were all smiling with gratification. However, the shadow that shrouded their hearts was still lingering. Su Yi's instant kill was like an overlord of heaven and earth. Who else on the stage could do it? That kind of arrogance and invincibility caused people's hearts to tremble. What kind of person was this Su Yi? Countless experts from the first-rate forces knew that Su Yi had never put the first-rate forces in his eyes. His eyes were only on the first-rate forces and even above the aristocratic families. What was even more unknown was that Su Yi had already started to yearn for the world outside of the sky barbarian continent. That vast and mysterious world and the elegant beauty that came through the demon race's passageway. Su Yi's instant kill, just now, was to tell everyone that he had the strength to instantly kill not only those three, but also all the first-rate forces. At this moment, Su Yi's gaze was fixed on the 11th stage. That was where Lu Ruashi was fighting. Lu Ruashi's double hooks rose high up in the air. Golden radiance spread on them and made whooshing sounds. She was at the first level of the Origin Emperor realm against a lady at the second level of the Origin Emperor realm. Lu Ruashi's double hooks were spinning rapidly. The sharp blade cut through the air and went straight for her opponent's throat. Golden radiance circulated and an overwhelming attack was launched. With Su Yi's instant kill in front of her, Lu Ruashi also tried her best to catch up, hoping to enter the top 400. The lady opposite her was holding a purple long whip. She was from the Origin returning sect of the Sky Dragon continent. With a loud shout, she tore through the void. The long whip seemed to have a mind of its own as the surrounding space suddenly distorted. Immediately after, a whirlpool roared in the sky. The whirlpool was like a black hole that instantly sucked in the Saint King aura around Lu Ruashi. Su Yi's brows furrowed slightly. This Tianlong continent was indeed a top-notch continent. Even a first-rate force like the Guiyuan sect had such powerful strength. Saintess, you may leave. From the cheering experts at the side, Su Yi learned from a scroll that Lon Balian gave him that the girl fighting was called Dong Xian. She specialized in using the purple python whip. When he shifted his gaze to Lu Ruashi, he saw a golden aura erupting from her body. In the face of the giant purple python's whip, the sacred light around Lu Ruashi quickly condensed. With a cold gaze, Lu Ruashi also activated her Saint Ruler protective aura. The light around her was like a small sun, and the light wings on her back flashed. "Break!" Lu Ruashi shouted in her heart. The two hooks in his hands quickly shot out, transforming into two huge golden flywheels that collided with the purple python from afar. Rumble! There was an explosion in the void. The holy aura and the light of the demon python clashed together. The terrifying fluctuation in the air directly turned into a vast and mighty energy that spread out. Ruashi seems to be having a hard time defeating her. That giant python whip is able to suppress her strength. Su Yi felt a chill in his heart. Using his soul to carefully sense the attacks of the two, Su Yi's eyes flashed with a trace of sharpness. Su Yi was also concerned about Lu Ruashi's advancement. He stroked his chin and raised his head to look at the battle in the distance. This little girl Ruashi is really infatuated with you. She used the sacred weapon you gave her so quickly. Chi Fei Hong snorted angrily. Although he was afraid of Su Yi's ruthless methods, he was still brooding over the fact that his beloved treasure was given away by Su Yi to a beauty. That's right. Su Yi snapped his fingers. It turned out that Dong Xian's whip wasn't the only one with the ability to suppress attacks. In addition, Lu Ruashi's sacred weapon wasn't sentient. Although it was comparable to a magic weapon in terms of power, it was far from the same in a battle. Thinking of this, Su Yi gradually frowned. He stared at Lu Ruashi's battle platform without blinking. His heart couldn't help but clench. Su Yi's gaze was immediately caught by the Lord. He could hear the Holy Fire Elder whispering beside him. This is strange. Why does the ninth saint have another sacred weapon? I remember that the ninth saint only has a double-blade magic weapon. The Lord raised his eyebrows slightly. He had already noticed the Holy Fire's discovery. At this moment, looking at Su Yi's performance, he understood. What Yuchi Changfeng said wasn't completely false. At least, Lu Ruashi's sincerity was already with Su Yi. The Lord's face twitched slightly. He rolled his eyes, and a thought flashed through his mind. Should Lu Ruashi prematurely take on all the responsibilities that didn't belong to her? Oh my God! The dazzling attacks of the 400 platforms filled the sky, and the flashing and moving of the platforms caused many of the defeated martial artists to exclaim in delight. Many of the sovereigns were also shocked. They exclaimed that there were new talents in every generation. This year's Tianfeng ranking tournament was even better than the previous one. The talents that were visible to the naked eye in the entire tournament meant that the Tianyin continent would definitely reach a higher level. Thinking of this, everyone looked at Su Yi, who was the first to kill his opponent. They couldn't help but feel a chill down their spines. This unknown but miraculous young man had stunned everyone again and again. How far would he be able to go in the next round of duels? He would kill all the first-rate forces and then challenge the top forces. Finally, he would kick the aristocratic families off their pedestals. Of course, no one would have thought that Su Yi really had such thoughts in his heart. In the near future, all the aristocratic families would kneel before Su Yi. At this moment, Su Yi's eyes were burning with concern for Lu Ruoxi's battle. On the 11th battle platform, Lu Ruoxi made a somersault in the air. The Saint King protective chi around her quickly shrouded her body. After escaping from the giant python's demonic aura, her eyes shone with a golden radiance. The two enormous forces collided in the air. Dong Xian's lips twitched slightly. The long whip in her hand quickly rolled out a few waves. Roar! The shadow of the giant beast on the whip spread rapidly. Faintly, Dong Xian's curvaceous body could be seen following the giant python's mouth. She quickly broke through the energy barrier and pounced on Lu Ruoxi like lightning. This move was astonishingly fast. It was close to the absolute speed of a second-level Origin Emperor. Su Yi watched Lu Ruoxi's battle. It was far more thrilling than his battle on the stage. His palms were sweating. He couldn't help but shake his head and smile bitterly. If he didn't feel sorry for his wife, who would? Boom! The fierce battle between the graceful beauty quickly attracted everyone's attention. Lu Ruoxi's snow-white skin emitted a mystical radiance from inside out. Her aura shook the void. Her aura was incomparably vigorous. Lu Ruoxi's eyes were as calm as water. Her body suddenly stopped moving. When she opened her eyes again, radiance shot out. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.